Chapter 1753. As soon as Lan Su's words fell, the group of delinquents standing around, including Lin Shuya and the others, all froze. What clan leader? What master? How come they couldn't understand what Lan Su was saying at all? But even if they couldn't understand, this group of delinquents didn't dare to make a sound. They had just seen Lan Su drink that cup of juice with the knockout drug. Lan Su had indeed fainted, and now he woke up as if nothing had happened. This could only mean one thing. The knockout drug had no effect on Lan Su at all. And Brother Jia, who had wanted to be the first to make a move on Lan Su, had now been turned from a man to a woman by Yun Jian. How could they dare to say anything more? Did they not want their lifeblood anymore? This group of delinquents, who used to be extremely cocky, were now all cowering in the corner, not even daring to say a single word. After hearing Lan Su's words, Yun Jian simply kicked Lin Shuya away, sheathed her knife, and turned to look at Lan Su. Where is he? Yun Jian asked. In her previous life, the old man who taught her hypnotism and all kinds of skills was her master. If it wasn't for him, she might have already died in her previous life. Let's talk outside. Lan Su glanced at the people around and spoke to Yun Jian. Okay. Yun Jian nodded. But before leaving, Yun Jian did something very interesting. 30 minutes later, the bar's room attendant came to the room. When she opened the door to the room and saw the scene inside, she was so shocked that she covered her face and screamed. She saw that the large group of men and women in the room had all fainted, but the only thing that could be seen was that the large group of men and women were hugging each other in pairs, their clothes disheveled, as if they were doing something unspeakable. In the end, Lin Shuya and the group were all taken away by the police for group prostitution. Of course, what happened next had nothing to do with Yun Jian. After Yun Jian and Lan Su left the bar, they came to an empty corner. Sorcerer God, we don't know your master's whereabouts at the moment, but the clan leader found out that a martial arts family on Earth had helped your master before. Before your master left, he left a letter for the master of the martial arts family. That letter contained a detailed way to contact your master, saying that it was to repay the kindness of this family head. It's just that the head of the martial arts family is rather stubborn. The patriarch has already sent people 3 times to exchange various treasures for the letter, but they still couldn't get the letter. Lan Su conveyed what Wu Lan, the tribe leader of the Wu tribe, wanted to tell Yun Jian. Yun Jian's eyes flickered. Where is that warrior family? Yun Jian pursed her lips and asked. Sorcerer God, are you going there personally? Lan Su asked. Okay. Yun Jian nodded. It's in a small ravine in the north of Dongdong province. It's very far from Longmen City, answered Lan Su. Pack up. We'll depart in 3 days. It was Friday, 3 days later. They would depart on a holiday. Yun Jian's lips curved as she spoke faintly. Okay. Lan Su nodded obediently. After the announcement, Lan Su returned to Longmen City while Luo Mei stayed at Qin Yu's house. Chen Sini's injuries were almost healed, so Yun Jian went back to Min City's military academy. Lin Wan and Muing stayed with Yun Jian for half a day in Min City's military academy. When the physical education class ended in the afternoon, the physical education teacher announced that the students were free to do whatever they wanted. Yun Jian, Lin Wan, and Muing sat on a lawn nearby, looking at the blue sky leisurely. Yun Jian, let's go shopping after school on Friday. There's a new mall in Min City recently. The clothes there are really pretty. Lin Wan suggested. I have something on this weekend, Yun Jian declined. Alright, we'll go next week then. Lin Wan knew Yun Jian well. She would not press for the reason even if Yun Jian said that she could not go. Yun Jian nodded. Just as the physical education teacher returned to his office and Yun Jian's classmates were free to do whatever they wanted, a middle-aged man walked over from afar. The middle-aged man left in a hurry, attracting the attention of many people around him. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes as she watched the unfamiliar man walk up to her. When the middle-aged man came to Yun Jian, he knelt down in front of her in front of all the students in the field and shouted, I'm sorry, Yun Jian. Please save my young master. Save my young master. I beg you. When the surrounding students saw this, they were all stunned for a moment. What was wrong with this man? Why was he kneeling before Yun Jian and begging Yun Jian to save his life? Yun Jian was Team Monarch/ing God, but she was only good at it. Was it not the doctor's job to save lives? Uncle, are you looking for the wrong person? Saving people is a doctor's job. Lin Wan replied in front of the other students after she heard that. However, before Lin Wan could finish her sentence, the middle-aged man shook his head and looked at Yun Jian. No. There's no mistake, it's her. She's the legendary hand of death who can bring the dead back to life. With that, the middle-aged man looked straight into Yun Jian's eyes and said urgently to Yun Jian in front of everyone. Chapter 1754. The middle-aged man's pleading posture was eye-catching. Especially when he had come to the school to beg for help. Yun Jian's class was not the only class that was having PE class. There were a few classes around them that were having PE classes as well. The middle-aged man's cry for help and what he said earlier echoed clearly throughout the classroom, shocking many who were there. Especially when the middle-aged man said the last sentence. He actually said, Yun Jian was the hand of death in the medical field. She even revived a girl who was declared dead in Longmen City's People's Hospital. What kind of joke was this? There were a few girls in Yun Jian's class who were closer to Lin Shuya, so they burst into laughter when they heard what the middle-aged man said. The hand of death in the medical field? You don't say. I really do pay attention to the medical world. The hand of death is known as the king of the medical field. I heard that she can even revive a person whose heart and brain were declared dead. She's the most amazing medical genius in the world today. She's the real reincarnation of Hua Tuo. But how can such an amazing person be Yun Jian? Even if she's dead, she can't be Yun Jian. And if Yun Jian is so amazing, why didn't she choose military medicine when she applied for military school? A girl who looked decent standing not far away from Yun Jian was Yun Jian's classmate and Lin Shuya's friend. As the girl spoke, she mocked Yun Jian in an indirect manner. She thought she was amazing because she majored in military medicine, unlike Yun Jian who did not know anything about medicine and trained her skills with the guys all day long. Once the girl spoke, many people around them chimed in agreement. Yun Jian's ability was already so outstanding. Could she be the hand of death? The middle-aged man insisted on his opinion after listening to the people around him. No. She must be the hand of death. As he spoke, the middle-aged man looked at Yun Jian and said to Yun Jian, there's a recording of the operation you performed in Longmen City's People's Hospital the last time. You saved a dead man. As long as you save our young master, our old master will give you a reward of 50 million. The middle-aged man's surname was Zhua, and he was the housekeeper of the young master and old master's house. Steward Zhua had watched his young master grow up. Just now, his young master had gotten into a car accident. The hospital had concluded that he could not be saved and could only wait for death. Coincidentally, the doctor at the hospital said that only the hands of the medical world's Grim Reaper could save her. The doctor also said that Death's hand was last seen in Longmen City People's Hospital. Steward Zhua's family was powerful and influential. He managed to find out Yun Jian's current identity with just a few phone calls and even found the surveillance footage of Longmen City's People's Hospital's surgery scene. As soon as he got the address, Steward Zhua immediately rushed over to beg Yun Jian for help. A reward of 50 million. 50 million. In this day and age of 1999, 50 million was an astronomical figure. It was equivalent to a few billion in modern times. Therefore, when they heard Steward Zhua's words, the surrounding students were dumbfounded. Even the girl who was certain that Yun Jian was not the hand of death was completely dumbfounded. Just when everyone thought that Yun Jian would agree to Steward Zhua's request regardless of whether she was the hand of death or not, a cold smile appeared on Yun Jian's face. From afar, Yun Jian smirked and looked at Steward Zhua with a cold smirk. She said faintly, since when did the fee for me to save someone become so low? When Yun Jian finished speaking, everyone was stunned. Yun Jian's words meant, could it be that she was the one in the legends? Before they could ponder further, Yun Jian's words were heard again. She was speaking to Steward Zhua. Chapter 1755. Yun Jian's words entered everyone's ears, and they were all shocked. Yun Jian's words were an admission of her identity, and she was also telling Steward Zhua about it. She wouldn't save people. As the hand of death in the medical world, Yun Jian rarely saved people. Although she was the hand of death in the medical world, not everyone could be saved. It wasn't easy being a doctor. Not to mention her as the hand of death. Even if an ordinary doctor had excellent medical skills, was very strong, and could perform every operation smoothly, if he failed one day, people would completely lose confidence in him. There was no time when people didn't make mistakes, and there was also no time when they didn't make any mistakes. This was true. However, in the medical world, to the common people, and to the general public, no one would use this to understand doctors. How could there be any mistakes when a person's life was gone? Even an ordinary doctor would be despised because of a careless mistake, let alone her, who was at the top of the medical world. Yun Jian wasn't a god, so naturally, she couldn't save people from the dead every time. In the past, Yun Jian relied on her hands to save people. Now that she had recovered her spiritual power, it was unrealistic for her to use her spiritual power to save people every time. On Earth, every time she used her spiritual power to save someone, she would have to bear the punishment of not making any progress in her cultivation for 10 years. Every time she used her spiritual power, it would be stacked. After saving Chen Sini last time, Yun Jian's cultivation had been stagnant for 10 years. Naturally, she couldn't easily save people again. Yun Jian's words were all true, but to the students around Yun Jian, it was abrupt and shocking. Yun Jian's words didn't mean that she was admitting that she was the hand of death. You're the hand of death? You're really the hand of death? You must be joking. The girl who mocked Yun Jian earlier glared at Yun Jian, her face pale with fright. Mu Ying wasn't surprised at all. She knew that Yun Jian was slaying God, so she knew that all these identities meant nothing to Yun Jian. Steward Zhua's expression changed slightly after hearing Yun Jian's words. He wasn't surprised that Yun Jian would reject him. In front of everyone, Steward Zhua fished out a black envelope from his pocket and passed it to Yun Jian. This is a letter that my master wrote to you. He said that he wants you to read this letter before making a decision. Yun Jian was sitting lazily on the lawn, her arms resting on both sides of her body, her eyes narrowed. Seeing Steward Zhua pass a letter to her, she accepted it and quickly opened the envelope to skim through its contents. After reading the letter, Yun Jian tore it into pieces in front of everyone. Then, she stood up and said to Steward Zhua, "Let's go." Steward Zhua was skeptical at first. Before he came to look for Yun Jian, his master had said that Yun Jian would never agree to save his young master. However, his master had given him a letter saying that Yun Jian would definitely agree after reading it. Where are we going? Steward Zhua didn't know how to react. By then, Yun Jian had already informed Lin Wan and Mu Ying and walked away. After Steward Zhua asked, Yun Jian's voice came from afar. Your young master is beyond saving if we're late. Did Yun Jian mean that? She agreed. Steward Zhua didn't know how to react. Chapter 1756. Yun Jian's change in attitude caught everyone off guard. Why did she agree? Mu Ying and Lin Wan didn't understand why Yun Jian had agreed, but Yun Jian must have her reasons for doing so. Seeing Yun Jian walk away, the girl who had mocked Yun Jian at first, but was later shocked by Yun Jian's actions, her face darkened. Since Steward Zhua could enter the school through the main entrance, he could definitely take Yun Jian out immediately. Moreover, Steward Zhua's family was very powerful. It wouldn't be difficult for him to take Yun Jian out of the school first. Steward Zhua was the steward of the Shen family. The Shen family was a wealthy family in Jiang province, not far from Zhe province. The Shen family was built by Steward Zhua's father. The Shen family was a wealthy family. Strictly speaking, although they weren't as rich as the Luo Berry family, in this era, a wealthy family like the Shen family was an existence that ordinary people could only look up to. They were an existence that ordinary people would never be able to touch in their entire lives. The Shen family had a private helicopter. Steward Zhuo took the private helicopter from Jiang Province to Min City in Zhe Province. The helicopter flew for more than an hour before Yun Jian arrived in Jiang Province. Nanchang, Jiang Province. Nanchang was the richest and most prosperous area in Jiang Province. Although Nanchang wasn't as developed as Zhe Province, it wasn't that bad either. Steward Zhuo took Yun Jian directly to the Nanchang People's Hospital. According to him, his young master had been sent to the Nanchang People's Hospital. He was relying on the hospital's equipment to keep him alive. He was in a coma. In this state, he could only hold on for 3 more days. Steward Zhuo took Yun Jian all the way to the operating room. However, halfway there, Steward Zhuo, who was taking Yun Jian, encountered a group of people. This group of people had sad faces. They were obviously the young master's family and friends. Yun Jian, who was standing at the side, could see that this group of people was worried about the young master's life because of the car accident. Although everyone in this group of people looked depressed, some of them were pretending, and some of them were really so. When they saw Steward Zhuo, an elegant woman who was holding a handkerchief ready to wipe her tears, but Yun Jian could not see any hint of sadness in her, called out to Steward Zhuo, "Steward Zhuo, Steward Zhuo. Steward Zhuo, Master asked you to bring the hand of death from the medical world here. Why did you bring this little girl here? Is this little girl Xiaoqing's girlfriend?" The woman glanced at Yun Jian from left to right. Yun Jian could clearly feel that the woman didn't like her. Xiaoqing was the young master that Steward Zhuo mentioned, Shen Xiaoqing. As for this woman, her name was Hua Wenru. She was Shen Xiaoqing's stepmother. When Hua Wenru saw Yun Jian, her face was full of disgust. When she first saw Yun Jian, she thought that Yun Jian was so beautiful. Could she be Shen Xiaoqing's girlfriend, who had seduced Shen Xiaoqing to fight for the Shen family's inheritance? Therefore, Hua Wenru didn't wait for Steward Zhuo to explain. She decided on an identity for Yun Jian herself. Then, she started nagging at Yun Jian. "Little girl, you're so young, but you're so cunning. Our Xiaoqing doesn't want a girlfriend like you. Hurry up and leave." Hua Wenru glared fiercely at Yun Jian. She didn't look like the stepmother who was wiping her tears with a handkerchief when she found out that Shen Xiaoqing was dying. Yun Jian's eyes flashed. "That's right. Our big brother doesn't want a girlfriend like you. Big brother has been in an accident for so long, and you're only here to see him now." Scram! A young girl standing next to Hua Wenru actually shed tears. She really thought that Yun Jian was Shen Xiaoqing's girlfriend after Hua Wenru's words. Therefore, she immediately shouted at Yun Jian angrily. However, just as Hua Wenru was about to use even more vicious words to chase Yun Jian away, Steward Zhuo angrily introduced Yun Jian to the young girl who was talking about Yun Jian to all of Shen Xiaoqing's friends and family. Chapter 1757. Steward Zhuo had no time to explain to these people blocking the way. If he continued to explain, would his young master still have a chance to live? So Steward Zhuo finished speaking and pushed away the group of people in front of him, intending to lead Yun Jian to the hospital's operating room first. Hua Wenru, the girl just now, really thought that Yun Jian was young master Shen Xiaoqing's girlfriend, especially Hua Wenru. When she scolded Yun Jian just now, anyone with a discerning eye would know that she was scolding Yun Jian for being vain. As for the other girl who scolded Yun Jian, it was purely because of Hua Wenru's words that made her run away. That girl was Shen Xiaoqing's biological sister, named Shenbai. Shenbai listened to Hua Wenru's words and really thought that Yun Jian was Shen Xiaoqing's girlfriend, so she scolded Yun Jian. Her brother Shen Xiaoqing had an accident for some time. If Yun Jian was really her brother's girlfriend, where was she when her brother had an accident? Why didn't she come to see her brother? But after listening to Steward Zhuo's words, Shenbai was slightly stunned. Yun Jian was actually the legendary hand of death in the medical world. After recovering from her shock, Shenbai softly apologized to Yun Jian. "I'm sorry, I just mistakenly thought that you were my brother's girlfriend." Shenbai was still considered a good girl. She was so emotional just now because her brother Shen Shaoqing had such an accident these few days, so it was inevitable that she would be emotional. But Hua Wenru was different. She couldn't wait for Steward Zhuo to fail to invite the hand of death and for Shen Shaoqing to die. When she saw Steward Zhuo bring Yun Jian over, Hua Wenru was already certain that Yun Jian was definitely not the hand of death, so she just spoke up to find a reason to suppress Yun Jian. But Hua Wenru never thought that Yun Jian was really the hand of death in the medical world. This can't be true. How old is she? She's about the same age as Shen Shaoqing and Shen Bai. How could she be the famous hand of death in the medical world? The hand of the Grim Reaper that could bring back the dead? Stop right there. Hua Wenru rolled her eyes and shouted at Steward Zhuo, who was about to bring Yun Jian to the rescue. Steward Zhuo, even if you can't get the Grim Reaper's hand to help you, you shouldn't get a little girl to make up the numbers, right? This is related to young master's life. On the surface, Hua Wenru looked like she was always thinking for Shen Shaoqing, but in fact, she just wanted to stall for time. He didn't believe that Yun Jian was the hand of death. This was one of the reasons. More importantly, what if Yun Jian really was the hand of death and saved Shen Shaoqing? Hua Wenru did not give birth to a son or a daughter for the Shen family. She only hoped that after Shen Shaoqing died, she could give birth to a son to inherit the Shen family's business. Madam. It can't be wrong. She was the hand of death. She. Steward Zhuo still couldn't tell that Hua Wenru was stalling for time. He wanted to continue explaining to Hua Wenru, but when he turned his head, he saw that Yun Jian had already walked to the operating room. My time is limited. If you continue to stall for time, you'll have to give me half of the Shen family's fortune in exchange for saving your young master. Yun Jian walked forward with her hands in her trouser pockets and said calmly and leisurely. In the end, Yun Jian added, I believe that compared to a son, it's only half of the family's fortune. Your old master will give you that. After she finished speaking, Yun Jian's lips curved into a cold arc. These two sentences were completely directed at Hua Wenru. If you continue to stall for time, you might even lose half of the family's fortune in the fight for inheritance. After hearing Yun Jian's words, Hua Wenru was really angry and annoyed. However, she really didn't say anything else. Instead, she looked at Yun Jian's receding figure and clenched her fists angrily. Yun Jian followed Steward Zhuo all the way to the door of the operating room. At the door of the operating room stood a man in his 50s. Half of his hair was already white. The moment he saw Steward Zhuo and Yun Jian, the man hurried forward to welcome them. Great Sorcerer Goddess. The man walked over and was about to kneel before Yun Jian in the same way that commoners in Yulong mainland would greet the Great Sorcerer Goddess. Yun Jian's eyes flashed slightly. She replied calmly, I'm here. There's no need to greet me. Chapter 1758. After Shen Wei heard Yun Jian's words, he did not insist on bowing. After all, this was a hospital, and there were many people coming and going. If he, a man in his 50s, publicly knelt before Yun Jian, a teenage girl, the people around him would probably think that he was crazy. Yes, Shen Wei was from the Yulong continent. Of course, simply because Shen Wei was from the Yulong continent, it naturally did not affect Yun Jian's desire to save him. What really affected Yun Jian's desire to save him was, do you really have a way to restore all my memories from my past life? Yun Jian raised her eyebrows and looked at Shen Wei with an extremely cold expression. Yes. But to help you restore all your memories of the sorcerer god, I have to pay a high price, so I hope that you can help me with one more thing after you save my son, Shen Wei said to Yun Jian. Steward Zhuo was also from the Yulong continent, so there was no need to avoid talking about this in front of him. What is it? Yun Jian pursed her lips and said. Can you be my personal bodyguard and protect my daughter, Shen Bai, for a month? My son, Shen Shaoqing, didn't become like this because of a car accident, it was caused by someone. I'm afraid that person will harm my daughter again. Shen Wei thought of this and frowned as he spoke to Yun Jian. I know this is a difficult task, but you are the sorcerer god, how can you protect people like us who have no status in the Yulong continent? Shen Wei thought that he had put Yun Jian in a difficult position, and even he himself felt that he was asking too much of Yun Jian. Just as he was about to say something else, Yun Jian interrupted him. Deal. Protect Shen Wei's daughter for a month, save Shen Xiaoqing, and get all her memories from her past life. This was a very good deal. Last time when she was absorbing the memories transmitted from the sandalwood box, she was interrupted halfway, and Yun Jian only remembered part of it. She always felt that she had forgotten something important. Moreover, she should be able to find traces of the mysterious person from her past life's memories. At this moment, CE was not here. If CE was here, he would definitely stop Yun Jian from recovering her memories. In his previous life, CE had sacrificed too much for Yun Jian. He didn't want Yun Jian to know because he didn't want her to feel apologetic towards him. He would rather she never recover her memory than remember that she once went to settle accounts with the mysterious man. Because he was there for her. He would take back everything that he owed her. Shen Wei had already prepared everything for the surgery because he had expected Yun Jian to come. When Yun Jian arrived, Shen Wei and Yun Jian exchanged a few words before Yun Jian entered the operating room. 2 hours later, Yun Jian removed the surgical tools and walked out of the operating room. How is it? Hua Wenru, who was standing at the entrance, was the first to rush over and ask. Outsiders thought that Hua Wenru was worried about Shen Xiaoqing's life. That was right, Hua Wenru was worried about Shen Xiaoqing's life. However, she was only worried about whether Shen Xiaoqing was dead or alive. Yun Jian ignored Hua Wenru. She turned to look at Shen Wei and said, "Your son will wake up in 3 hours." Although Shen Wei already knew that this would be the result, he still heaved a deep sigh of relief after hearing Yun Jian's words. "Master, it's good that Xiaoqing is fine. It's good that he's fine." Hua Wenru stood beside Shen Wei and pretended to be relieved. However, she turned her head and glared at Yun Jian fiercely. This little bitch actually saved Shen Xiaoqing. His life is no longer in danger. I have to go back and do something. I'll come back a day later as scheduled, Yun Jian said to Shen Wei. She had been Shen Bai's bodyguard for a month. During this month, she had to ask for leave from the school and explain to Qin Yiru that she could disappear for a month for no reason. Moreover, she had to explain the reason to CE. Otherwise, he would come looking for her. In fact, even if Yun Jian didn't say anything, CE would still come looking for her no matter where she went. For some reason, Yun Jian felt that CE didn't want her to remember her past life. Therefore, Yun Jian didn't tell CE the details. Chapter 1759. Yun Jian returned to Longmen City after that. First, she contacted Lan Su to postpone her trip to Dongdong province to ask for an envelope containing her master's contact number from the head of the martial arts family for a month. She then went back to settle Luo Mei down and explained to Qin Yiru before returning to Min City's military academy to apply for a month's leave. Yun Jian's ability was outstanding, so it was not difficult for her to apply for a month's leave in school. Qin Yiru was aware of her identity now. Before she left, Qin Yiru reminded her to be careful of her own safety and to remember one thing no matter what danger she encountered. Don't treat your life as a joke. It's not scary to lose anything because you still have us. Hearing Qin Yiru's words, Yun Jian's heart warmed. A day later, Yun Jian arrived at the Shen residence as scheduled. The Shen family's villa was similar to Gu Yunjian's. The style was grander and classy, so it was presentable. By then, Yun Jian had already entered the Shen family's house. When Shen Wei saw Yun Jian, he gave her a small bow and brought Yun Jian to the study to discuss business. Hua Wenru clenched her fists tightly when she saw this. This little slut, she couldn't be thinking of seducing his master, right? In the study. Yun Jian sat in front of the desk in the study while Shen Wei stood beside her, looking at her submissively with his head lowered. If an outsider were to see this, they would be scared to death. Shen Wei was a prominent figure in the southern part of the province. For such a prominent figure to be so respectful to a teenage girl, would it not be frightening? Yun Jian played with the black pen in her hand as she listened to Shen Wei introduce the Shen family's current situation to her lazily. I, Shen Wei, was originally the pride of an aristocratic family in the Yulong continent. Although my Shin family is not even a 10,000th of the sorcerer tribe, it's still not bad. I, Shin Wei, was originally the heir of the Shin family, but I was framed and chased out of the Yulong continent. Shin Wei was originally the heir of the Shin family in the Yulong continent. After being framed, he was chased out of the Yulong continent. As he had nowhere to go, he left the Yulong continent with Steward Zhua, who was willing to follow him, and came to Earth. Then, she met Shin Xiaoqing and Shin Bai's biological mother, so she settled down on Earth. Shin Xiaoqing and Shin Bai's mother died early due to illness. For the sake of their children, Shin Wei had no choice but to remarry. In the blink of an eye, 20 years had passed. Shin Wei realized that he was not the only one from the Yulong continent. In the southern part of the province, there were many people from the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent. Not only did these people form cliques, but they also severely suppressed the aristocratic families who did not join them. Shin Wei's daughter, Shin Bai, was studying at Meteor Aristocrat Academy. Many of the students in the academy were descendants of aristocratic families in Yulong mainland. Shin Wei's son, Shin Xiaoqing, had an accident, and these people couldn't get away with it. Because Shin Wei refused to join them and collude with them, this group of people made a move on him. Because we can't use spiritual power on Earth, we fight openly. The descendants of these aristocratic families have been practicing their skills since they were young, so their strength shouldn't be underestimated. But fortunately, we can't use spiritual power on Earth. When I was chased out of the Yulong continent, all my spiritual power was crippled. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to deal with them at all, Shin Wei sighed. After listening to Shin Wei's words, Yun Jian's hand that was twirling the black pen paused. Her eyes flashed sharply. You're saying that the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent rely on their own abilities to suppress the aristocratic families who don't cooperate with them? Yes. This was the point that troubled him. Chapter 1760. The sorcerer goddess was not only the supreme existence that the people of Yulong mainland worshipped and revered, she was also the symbol of Yulong mainland. The symbol of an eternal and undefeated existence. With the sorcerer goddess, the sorcerer race would definitely prosper. With the sorcerer goddess in Yulong mainland, other than the gods' mainland, in the vast universe, no other mainland could be compared to Yulong mainland. This was the value of the sorcerer goddess's existence. She was a god. She was the symbol of Yulong mainland. In Yulong mainland, if the sorcerer goddess appeared in front of the aristocratic families of Yulong mainland, it would be like a bolt from the blue to those aristocratic families. Even Shin Wei was dazed for a moment when he first saw Yun Jian. He had really seen the godlike existence that he had never been able to touch in the Shin family of Yulong mainland. The sorcerer goddess never went back on her words. With the sorcerer goddess around, those aristocratic families who had always done bad things were done for. Shin Wei heaved a sigh of relief. The Shin family was influential, so it was not difficult for them to transfer Yun Jian to Meteor Academy for nobles midway through her studies. Dad, do you want Sister Grim Reaper to go to school with me? Early in the morning, Shin Bai blinked and asked Shin Wei when she saw Yun Jian standing in front of her with a shoulder bag. Shin Bai was 15 years old this year. Because of her excellent grades, she was smart and eager to learn, so she had skipped 2 grades. She was now in her second year of high school in Meteor Academy. Meteor Academy was a joint school between middle school and high school, but Meteor Academy was an aristocratic academy. Here, you could only enter if you had money. Furthermore, the teachers and the environment of Meteor Academy were all top-notch. Shin Bai was actually quite adorable. Aside from the fact that she was misled by Hua Wenru when she first saw Yun Jian and said some unpleasant things to her, Shin Bai was actually quite adorable. However, Shin Bai had also apologized. Ever since Yun Jian saved her brother, Shin Bai had been calling Yun Jian Sister Grim Reaper. Yun Jian did not have any objections and smiled faintly at Shin Bai. Don't tell others that sister is the hand of Grim Reaper. This will bring trouble to big sister. Shin Wei shouted at Shin Bai. Dad, I got it. Shin Bai stuck her tongue out at Shin Wei and then walked over to Yun Jian. Halfway through, she turned around and glanced at Shin Wei. Dad, take good care of big brother. We'll be leaving first. Watch the road. Slow down. Shenwei looked at his daughter Shenbai's departing figure with heartache. He smiled kindly and said. Her home wasn't close to the school, but it wasn't far either. However, Shenbai never took a private car. She was very independent and always ran to school while exercising. Yun Jian appreciated this. After Yun Jian followed Shenbai into the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, Shenbai led Yun Jian all the way to the classroom of grade 2-1. Yun Jian came to the school to protect Shenbai, so she was naturally arranged to be in the same classroom. Sister Grim Reaper, there's still a seat at the back of the classroom. I might have to trouble you to sit at the back of the classroom first because our class has arranged the seating chart before. Shenbai looked at Yun Jian apologetically. It's fine. Yun Jian smiled at Shenbai. Early in the morning, Yun Jian had just accompanied Shenbai to the classroom and attracted the attention of many students in the class. Among them, a rich boy walked up to Yun Jian and looked at Yun Jian flirtatiously. Yo, a transfer student? Little girl, you're quite pretty, aren't you? Just as he said this, suddenly, a series of exclamations came from the field outside the classroom. Ah! Young Master Lang is here. Young Master Lang is so handsome. Our young Master Lin is still more handsome. He's indeed one of the 3 school hunks in our school. Oh my God. I'm about to faint from how handsome he is. Such words kept ringing out. When Shenbai heard this, she put down the school bag in her hand in an uproar and said to Yun Jian, Sister, I'll go take a look. Then, she ran out. Yun Jian's mission was to protect Shenbai, so naturally, she had to be by her side at all times. Seeing this, she swung her hand and the school bag in her hand flew directly to the empty seat at the back of the classroom from a distance of more than 10 meters. Under the horrified expressions of the large group of students in the classroom and the rich boy who wanted to hit on her, she turned and left the classroom. Chapter 1761. Because of Yun Jian's move, the classroom was in an uproar. However, after the rich boy finished speaking, a boy immediately became unhappy and retorted, It's just a coincidence. It's just like playing basketball. If you're lucky, a girl can also score 10 goals in a row. The boy who said this was naturally envious of Yun Jian's move just now. He felt that Yun Jian's move just now should not have appeared on a girl. If he could have Yun Jian's move just now and perform it in front of everyone, especially those gullible girls, wouldn't he be able to receive exclamations? It was a pity that the girls were not in the classroom right now. These 2 girls were all attracted by the 3 school hunks of Meteor Aristocrat Academy who had just entered the school gate. Yun Jian followed behind Shenbai. She looked at Shenbai as if she had won $1 million. She was so excited that it was as if she had seen a mountain of Grandpa Mao and rushed towards the field. While Shenbai was running, Yun Jian was strolling in that direction. Although Yun Jian's footsteps were slow, her pace was not slow. She could still catch up to Shenbai's pace. The crowd on the field was already in an uproar. Most of the people on the field were girls. One by one, they were screaming as if the rain from the sky was Grandpa Mao. However, in the distance, a boy wearing sunglasses and 2 other boys wearing branded clothes got out of 3 luxurious sports cars. It was not hard to tell that these 3 people were the targets of this group of people's screams. Shenbai stopped running when she was 20 meters away from the crowd. She jumped to a place where she could stand very high and see further. She looked at the one wearing sunglasses among the 3 boys. Yun Jian simply sat beside Shenbai with a lazy look on her face. After about 10 minutes, the 3 boys were surrounded by a group of girls as they walked over. However, they passed by this place. Because Shenbai was standing very high, among the 3 boys, the gentler-looking boy turned his head to look at Shenbai. However, Shenbai did not look at this gentle-looking boy. Her eyes were fixed on the boy in sunglasses in the distance who was called Young Master Lang. This pretty good-looking boy with sunglasses and a cold face was called Lang Yichen. He was one of the 3 school hunks of the Meteor Aristocratic Academy. He was handsome and cold, and was the future target of many girls. As for the other 2, they were also one of the 3 school hunks of the Meteor Aristocrat Academy. The gentle and elegant boy was called Song Zilin, and the sloppy boy was called Gong Shangjin. The family backgrounds of the three of them were among the best in the entire Z nation. At this moment, the three boys were surrounded by a large group of girls. When they passed by Yunjian and Shenbai, who was standing at a high place, Shenbai screamed at the boy wearing sunglasses. Cold. Before her voice fell, Yunjian's eyes suddenly flashed sharply. In the next second, she saw a young girl in the distance holding a water sprayer, spraying water in the direction of Yunjian and Shenbai. It was obvious that she did it on purpose. Yunjian's eyes flashed slightly, and in the next second, she suddenly flew up. Because there were girls surrounding the three boys, Yunjian and Shenbai's location was very empty. Therefore, Yunjian's action of flying up was very attractive. This time, not only did the girls chasing the three school hunks see this scene, even the three school hunks saw it. They saw Yunjian fly over Shenbai, who was standing at a high place. In a short 3 seconds, she turned around and brought Shenbai to a place less than 10 meters away from the sprayer. Chapter 1762. Because Yunjian's actions were too eye-catching, the surrounding people all looked over. The three school hunks also noticed Yunjian. However, they saw Yunjian standing more than 10 meters away, unscathed. She brought Shenbai along and nimbly avoided the spray of the water spray. Yunjian's slender and perfect figure was also presented in front of everyone. Seeing his brother Lang Yichen stop and look at Yunjian, Song Zilin raised his eyebrows. It was rare for his brother Lang Yichen to stop and look at a young girl. "Chen, why aren't you moving?" Song Zilin asked. After Yunjian, who was standing in the distance, pulled Shenbai away from the spray of the water spray, Shenbai reacted and said angrily, "It's Lin Shui. It's not the first time she's done this to me." After saying that, Shenbai pointed at the place where the water spray came from and said hatefully, "Lin Shui, you're shameless. I don't have any grudges with you. Why do you have to go against me every time?" Seeing that Shenbai had noticed her, Lin Shui, who was hiding in the dark, walked out. "Ah. It's our school's beauty. It's not the first time she's done this to Shenbai in public." "That's right. I think our school's beauty can't stand girls being nice to young Master Lang. I won't dare to like young Master Lang in the future. If the school's beauty goes against me, then I'm done for." Countless female exclamations immediately sounded from the surroundings. Lin Shui was the school beauty of Meteor Aristocratic Academy. She was beautiful and came from a rich family. Usually, if a girl dared to pursue Lang Yichen, Lin Shui would definitely make that girl unable to survive in the academy. The person who sprayed Yunjian and Shenbai with the water spray was Lin Shui's little follower. After Lin Shui walked over, she glanced coldly at Yunjian and Shenbai. Then, she turned her head and said to Shenbai, "With a small aristocratic family like your Shen family, you actually dare to have designs on young Master Lang. Do you not want to survive in the academy anymore?" Many of the young masters and young ladies of the Meteor Aristocratic Academy were descendants of aristocratic families from the Yulong continent. In the academy, these young masters and ladies from the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent had never even been to the Yulong continent. They had only heard about the Yulong continent from their elders. There was also the legend of the sorcerer god, the supreme existence of the Yulong continent. Here, the clans of the Yulong continent were generally referred to as aristocratic families. Not only were Lin Shui's elders from Yulong mainland, but even the elders of the three school hunks were from Yulong mainland. In fact, many people in the academy knew about the legend of the Yulong continent. However, it was just a legend. The elders of these young masters and ladies came from the Yulong continent, but that was hundreds or thousands of years ago. As for whether the Yulong continent really existed or how to return to the Yulong continent, these people had no idea at all. Therefore, the Meteor Aristocrat Academy had formed a style. That was, in this place, those who were young ladies or young masters of aristocratic families had a higher status. Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, the three school hunks, had the highest status in their families. Therefore, in the Meteor Aristocratic Academy, their status was also the highest. Next was Lin Shui's family. Yun Jian had also heard about these things from Shenwei. She did not expect that there would be so many aristocratic families from the Yulong continent. Hundreds or thousands of years ago, after the entrance to the human world from the Yulong continent was opened, they migrated to Earth. Yun Jian sneered. Lin Shui scolded Shenbai. Shenbai was afraid that the Lin family would implicate the Shen family, so she really did not say anything. Seeing this, Lang Yichen wanted to turn and leave. She was just a descendant of a small aristocratic family. However, at the moment when Lang Yichen and the other two were about to leave, they saw Lin Shui on the other side, seeing how beautiful Yun Jian was. She was actually prettier than herself, and jealousy grew in her heart. Which aristocratic family are you from? Lin Shui looked askance at Yun Jian and asked disdainfully. She guessed that Yun Jian was just a young lady from an unknown aristocratic family, or perhaps she was not from an aristocratic family at all. Lin Shui thought confidently. Do you really want to know who I am? Yun Jian sneered back. This crisp and pleasant voice made Lang Yichen and the other two who were about to leave stop in their tracks and look curiously at Yun Jian. Of course. Lin Shui was waiting to see Yun Jian make a fool of herself, so she hurriedly spoke up. However, they saw that Yun Jian, who was standing in front of everyone, in front of all the girls around her, including the three school hunks, Lang Yichen, Lin Shui, Shenbai, and everyone else, stopped smiling. Her expression was indifferent, like a revered king, and she said indifferently, "Listen, I will only answer the question of who I am once." Chapter 1763. I am the daughter of the Wu clan of the Yulong continent, the witch goddess who has been in charge of the survival of the Yulong continent for generations. This sentence spread around the field of the Meteor Aristocrat Academy. Yun Jian stood where she was, her cold eyes sweeping across the crowd. Her slender figure stood upright in front of everyone, as if she was a god who held the power to kill. This sentence also spread to the ears of everyone present. It also spread to the ears of Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, Gong Shangjin, as well as the campus belle Lin Shui, who was standing in front of Yun Jian. It stirred up the fiery hearts of this group of people, causing everyone present to be flabbergasted. What did you say? You are the daughter of the Wu clan of the Yulong continent, the witch goddess. The legendary sorcerer god. Lin Shui had the biggest reaction when she heard Yun Jian's words. She covered her mouth on the spot and screamed. Lang Yichen, who was looking at Yun Jian with a calm expression, as if he was watching an interesting show, also took off the sunglasses he had been wearing on his face in shock. Song Zilin's handsome face also revealed a look of horror. Gong Shangjin immediately put away his sloppy look and became serious. At the same time, he stared at Yun Jian with a serious look, his brows furrowed into a bumpy hill. As for Shenbai, who was standing next to Yun Jian, she was completely dumbfounded. How could she be the witch goddess of the Yulong continent? Isn't the Yulong continent a legendary place? And isn't the witch goddess a legendary god? How could she appear here? An ordinary girl who did not know the situation looked at Yun Jian. In order to please the campus belle Lin Shui, she sneered at Yun Jian. Why was this ordinary girl called ordinary? That was because many of the people in the Meteor Aristocrat Academy were young ladies and young masters of aristocratic families who had migrated from the Yulong continent thousands of years ago. Obviously, this ordinary girl was not a young lady of an aristocratic family. After this ordinary girl finished speaking to Yun Jian, the surroundings fell into a dead silence. Even Lin Shui didn't immediately respond to this ordinary girl's words. Even though Lin Shui really hoped that Yun Jian was just like what this ordinary girl had said, that she was not the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. But, after the ordinary girl finished speaking, the scene fell silent. In the end, it was Song Zilin, who was as gentle as a gentleman, who stood up and explained. Cough cough, all the descendants of the aristocratic families know that no one can impersonate the sorcerer god of Yulong mainland. Once someone impersonates him, they'll be destroyed. This calamity will happen without you knowing. You will die in a few days, and you won't be able to find out the reason. Speaking of this, Song Zilin clenched his fist and placed it in front of his mouth. He coughed a few times as if to ease the awkward atmosphere. He looked at Yun Jian in front of everyone and continued to speak. What she said just now, if you're not a member of an aristocratic family, you won't know that the sorcerer goddess is the daughter of the sorcerer clan of Yulong continent. She's the one who controls the life and death of Yulong continent. So she's a member of an aristocratic family. As a member of an aristocratic family, she must know that impersonating the sorcerer goddess will result in her being cursed and dying mysteriously. Even if she's stupid, she wouldn't joke about her own life. Once, there was a girl from the Song family who impersonated the sorcerer goddess as a joke. In the end, in less than 3 days, she was strangely run over by a truck and died. In the eyes of everyone, Song Zilin was usually a gentlemanly young master. He was also very nice and never lied or spouted nonsense. His temperament was completely different from Lang Yichen, who was extremely cold and wore sunglasses. Even if a girl he didn't know fell to the ground, Song Zilin would walk over to help her. At this critical juncture, Song Zilin's analysis of this matter was very organized and clear. After listening to Song Zilin's analysis, everyone present looked at Yun Jian and paused. However, Song Zilin's words were heard clearly again. His words made everyone swallow their saliva. There was a moment of panic. Chapter 1764. When Lin Shui heard Yun Jian admit that she was the sorcerer goddess, she wanted to fight back like a normal girl against Yun Jian. However, as the daughter of a large family, Lin Shui knew the consequences of impersonating the sorcerer goddess. If Yun Jian impersonated the sorcerer goddess, she would be cursed. Of course, the person who impersonated the sorcerer goddess must know about the existence of the sorcerer goddess and use her identity to obtain something or gain someone's trust. Only then would this terrifying curse be effective on her. If Yun Jian was not the sorcerer goddess, then this curse would have already been effective. Everyone blinked. They did not expect that impersonating the sorcerer goddess would result in such an outcome. If they were to accidentally impersonate the sorcerer god, those who don't know will not be cursed if they impersonate the sorcerer goddess. Song Zilin once again spoke out the fear in everyone's hearts. After a pause, Song Zilin continued to joke with the large group of ordinary girls who were chasing after Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, who were oblivious to the situation. Just now, Song Zilin said, however, let me tell you a very bad news. Now that you know, if you dare to impersonate the sorcerer goddess, you will be cursed. As soon as this was said, everyone trembled. Yun Jian, who was standing in the distance, narrowed her eyes and did not speak. This curse did exist. It was set by her when she was the sorcerer goddess. It was to prevent people from impersonating her from the Yulong continent. Of course, Yun Jian did not expect that there were people from the Yulong continent on Earth. What was even more unexpected was that these people from the Yulong continent brought the legend of the sorcerer goddess to Earth and let so many people know about the existence of the sorcerer goddess. Of course, this curse was only effective on people who knew about the existence of the sorcerer goddess. Therefore, in the past, Yun Jian was not worried that the people on Earth would be cursed because of this. Now that people from the Yulong continent's families had come to Earth and so many people knew about this, Sister Death God, why does such a terrifying curse exist? Shenbai was good in her studies and had a good ability to accept things. She had already reacted and accepted Yun Jian. At this moment, Shenbai turned her head and asked Yun Jian in front of everyone. Because of Song Zilin's words, everyone present turned their eyes to Yun Jian. Their eyes also followed Yun Jian closely. After Shenbai asked this question, everyone stared at Yun Jian as if they were waiting for Yun Jian's reply. Song Zilin said that if Yun Jian dared to say that she was the witch god, then she must be the legendary witch god. The people around them were all students, and students were generally more curious. Everyone wanted to know more about the strange curses. Thus, all of them turned to look at Yun Jian. Even Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin were looking at Yun Jian, waiting for her reply. You really want to know? Yun Jian turned her head slightly and looked at Shenbai from the corner of her eyes. She smiled slightly and said softly. When Yun Jian said this, Shenbai quickly nodded, yes, yes. Sister Death God, I want to know why. At this moment, everyone's focus was no longer on why Shenbai called Yun Jian, Sister Death God. Everyone's hearts tightened for no reason. At this moment, Yun Jian's smile suddenly disappeared in front of everyone and she said coldly, I was cursed by the witch god. I, the witch god, have protected the witch race for thousands of years in the Yulong continent. I once defeated 1009 continents who invaded and slandered my Yulong continent. I once led the Yulong continent to become an existence second only to the gods' continent among the tens of millions of continents in the vast universe. Chapter 1765. Yun Jian's words reverberated throughout the entire place. Everyone who heard her words had a moment of horror and shock. Especially the young ladies and young masters of the aristocratic families. At this moment, a large group of people were dumbfounded as they listened to Yun Jian's words. They opened and closed their mouths, but in the end, no words came out. The young ladies and young masters of the aristocratic families had only heard the elders of their families mention what Yun Jian said. In this vast universe, there were tens of millions of continents. That's right, there were tens of millions of worlds like the Yulong continent other than Earth. However, these tens of millions of continents were all connected to each other. There was no way to go to Earth alone, or to go from Earth to the tens of millions of continents directly. Even if the top masters of the tens of millions of continents wanted to go to Earth, there was no way at all. Earth and the continents were like two unrelated worlds, each living their own lives. Until a few thousand years ago, the Lord God of the Gods continent forcibly tore open the passage from the Yulong continent to Earth, connecting the two places that would never be connected. As for Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, Gong Shangjin, Lin Shui, Shenbai, and the other ancestors of the aristocratic families of the Yulong continent, they came here through that passage. However, hundreds of years ago, the passage collapsed, so the aristocratic families of Lang Yichen and the others did not know how to return to the Yulong continent. After settling down on Earth for a few generations, their understanding of the Yulong continent could only be found through the records of their ancestors or the books passed down. Undoubtedly, these people did not know that the stone cave in the ancient tomb was the entrance to the Yulong continent. Of course, even if these people knew, they could not go back because it had been passed down for generations. The ancestors who had the strength of the Yulong continent had passed away, leaving behind Lang Yichen and the others who were only descendants of the aristocratic families. They did not have the ability to pass through the stone cave at all. However, whether it was Lang Yichen or the descendants of the aristocratic families present, they had all subconsciously heard that the Yulong continent was at the bottom of the tens of millions of continents. The women of the Yulong continent were so lowly that any man from the continent could violate them. The people of the Yulong continent lived a life worse than death. That was the fate of the weak. However, at that time, the daughter of the sorcerer clan led the sorcerer clan to rule the entire Yulong continent. In just a few decades, the Yulong continent became an existence second only to the gods' continent. Among the tens of millions of continents, the Yulong continent was originally the lowest level continent. However, the sorcerer clan's daughter led it to the peak of the tens of millions of continents. It could be said that the Yulong continent was the strongest continent because of the sorcerer continent's continent at that time. This matter had shaken the entire universe at that time. The sorcerer's battle. As for the deity's continent, it was a hidden continent. The people living on the deity's continent were all deities. Gods of the continents, gods of the continent of the world continent would be continent. There were even rumors that the sorcerer god had once killed a deity from the deity's continent. Headed all of the peoples. SSSS world continent and of the S. When they first heard it, they were all frightened. However, the fear at that time was not as shocking as what Yun Jian had just said. What Lang Yichen and the others had heard at that time was only a rough idea. Yun Jian had just told them the details that they did not know. People who weren't there wouldn't be able to understand this kind of shocking feeling. There was no doubt that Yun Jian, as the sorcerer god, was a strong person. How strong was she? Chapter 1766. After Yun Jian finished speaking, a large group of people stood around her. There were at least a few hundred people. But whether it was the group of girls who chased after Lang Yichen's group, Lang Yichen's group, or Lin Shui and Shen Bai. At this moment, everyone was stupefied and speechless. When Yun Jian said what she said just now, it was as if the people around her could see the smoky battlefield and the sorcerer goddess's body that made people tremble. Lin Shui swallowed hard. When she came back to her senses, she saw that Lang Yichen, whom she admired, was looking at Yun Jian with great interest. Seeing this, Lin Shui's hands suddenly clenched into fists. Who cared if she was the sorcerer goddess or not? How dare she attract the attention of her man? She must have a death wish. Don't talk as if you're really the sorcerer goddess. Young Master Lin just said that you're the sorcerer goddess. Do you really think you're the sorcerer goddess? Besides, we don't even know if that curse is effective. What if you mysteriously die in a few days? What if you're a fake? Heh, I don't believe such a made-up lie unless you're really the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. Lin Shui's eyes turned. She suddenly remembered what Song Zilin said just now. He only said that Yun Jian was the sorcerer goddess, but he couldn't be sure that Yun Jian was the sorcerer goddess. After she finished speaking, the crowd that was silent from Yun Jian's words instantly came back to their senses. Lin Shui's words rang out again. At this moment, Lin Shui suddenly thought of a very important point. She said confidently in front of everyone, "Oh right, our Lin family's ancestors once recorded that the sorcerer goddess had fallen thousands of years ago." They also left behind a sentence. When Lin Shui said this, many of the surrounding students' curiosity was piqued by Lin Shui. "Shui, what is it? Tell us quickly, everyone is curious." A few girls standing beside Lin Shui curiously asked Lin Shui with intimate words. Lin Shui's family was a big family, and Lin Shui had a high status in the family. Therefore, some of the girls in the school were proud to be friends with Lin Shui. Hearing the people's interest, Lin Shui was even more confident that Yun Jian was definitely a fake. She definitely couldn't say the words that the sorcerer goddess had said. Therefore, Lin Shui confidently raised her head and said to Yun in front of everyone, "If you're really the sorcerer goddess, then you should know what this sentence means, right?" She definitely couldn't. Lin Shui lifted her head confidently and looked at Yun Jian in disdain. And Lin Shui could feel that Lang Yichen was looking at her. This made Shui feel that her spring was a new for a moment. To say, Chui, Lin's was talking to of, ASU's a least, Lin, SA's. Yun Jian almost sneered. After a pause, Yun Jian couldn't be bothered with Lin Shui anymore. She turned to Shen Bai and said, "Let's go." Yun Jian really couldn't be bothered with Lin Shui, nor Lang Yichen and the other two. But seeing Yun Jian like this, Lin Shui felt that her guess was right. "Humph, you really aren't the sorcerer goddess. I knew it, the sorcerer goddess isn't like you. You can't even say the words before the sorcerer goddess fell. Pfft. I'm waiting for you to die mysteriously because you're impersonating the sorcerer goddess." Lin Shui suddenly felt a sense of relief. Fortunately, Yun Jian wasn't the sorcerer goddess. Humph. She actually dared to impersonate the sorcerer goddess. This girl was really bold. Lang Yichen and the other two didn't say anything. Lin Shui really thought that she was right. She knew it, how could the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent be here? In the beginning, Lin Shui still had some doubts about whether Yun Jian was the legendary sorcerer goddess. But look, now that she had been seen through, she was about to turn around and run away. Just as Lin Shui was very confident that Yun Jian was about to leave, a loud voice called out to Yun Jian. "Young lady, wait." Hearing this voice, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. She turned halfway and glanced at the old man who called out to her. This was an old man in his 50s or 60s. Behind the old man was a large family. "Grandpa, why are you here?" Lang Yichen saw the old man and walked over to ask him. Chapter 1767. It was obvious that Lin Shui knew the Leng family. Lin Shui's family was also an aristocratic family from the Yulong continent, and it was one of the most influential families in the country. Lang Yichen's family, Song Zilin's family, Gong Shangjin's family, and Lin Shui's family were all well-known families among the aristocratic families, and they often interacted with each other. Therefore, when Lin Shui saw the old man, she jumped up and down and pretended to be a naive young girl. She reached out and grabbed the old man's arm and said very intimately, "Grandpa Leng, why are you here?" When Lin Shui talked to the old man, she glanced at Yun Jian from the corner of her eyes, as if it was an honor for her to know the old man. The old man was Leng Yichen's biological grandfather and the current master of the Leng family, Master Leng. Master Leng got the news that a girl in the meteor aristocratic school claimed that she was the goddess of witchcraft. Therefore, Master Leng hurried to the school with his family. The moment he saw Yun Jian, Master Leng felt that Yun Jian was extraordinary, so he stopped her at once. Old Master Leng ignored his grandson, Leng Yichen, and granddaughter, Lin Shui, who were family friends. His sharp gaze landed on Yun Jian as he asked her in front of everyone, "What do you think? Young lady, are you really the goddess of witchcraft from the Wu family on the Yulong continent?" Master Leng was very excited when he said that, and everyone present could feel his emotions at the moment. As soon as Master Leng asked that question, Lin Shui, who was standing next to him, said in a sharp voice, "Grandpa Leng, she's not. I've just asked around. She's not the goddess of witchcraft at all. She's just bluffing." As Lin Shui said that, she pointed her nose at Yun Jian and made a few strange sounds. Yun Jian, on the other hand, stopped in her tracks and studied old Master Leng with narrowed eyes. "Are you from the Leng family?" Yun Jian raised her eyebrows slightly. "Yes, I am." Master Leng nodded excitedly. Seeing that Master Leng was talking to Yun Jian, Lin Shui was unhappy again. "Grandpa Leng, she's just a swindler. She scared us just now. TSK, we almost thought that she was the legendary goddess of witchcraft. I was wondering how the legendary goddess of witchcraft could look like this." Lin Shui's was talking again. How could the legendary goddess of witchcraft? Was Leng's heart's eyes? How could it be so exquisite? Lin Shui did not want to admit it, but she had to admit that Yun Jian was beautiful. Lin was so beautiful, even she wanted to tear her face was beautiful. How could there be such a beautiful woman in this world? The goddess of witchcraft was already so powerful. If she also had such a beautiful face, how could they still live? Master Leng ignored Lin Shui's words. At this moment, in front of everyone, Master Leng was looking at Yun Jian with an indescribable excitement. Yun Jian suddenly smiled. She looked at Master Leng and asked again, "Are you from the Leng family who has been guarding the ancient mythical beast Tao Tai in the northern part of the Yulong continent?" Yun Jian's words confused everyone. What did she mean by the northern part of the Yulong continent? What ancient mythical beast Tao Tai? Are you going to say something to make us think that you're the goddess of witchcraft? Let me tell you, we won't believe you. Lin Shui was slightly stunned when she heard that. Then, she quickly reacted and yelled at Yun Jian. However, just when everyone was puzzled, Lin Shui's unpleasant yelling was heard. Old Master Leng, who stood in front of Yun Jian, suddenly knelt down in front of Yun Jian like a commoner in Yulong mainland worshipping the sorcerer deity. "Goddess of witchcraft. You're really the goddess of witchcraft. 1,000 years ago, when the Leng family was still in the Yulong continent, we were once indebted to you. The Leng family will never forget the teachings of our ancestors." Chapter 1768. The Leng family had the highest status among all the families of the young ladies and young masters present. Of course, it was only limited to the families of the young ladies and young masters present. Not all the families from Yulong mainland sent their children to Meteor Academy to study. Other than the families of the young ladies and young masters who were studying at the Meteor Aristocratic Academy who came from the Yulong mainland, there were many other aristocratic families in the southern city of the Jiang province. Of course, the Leng family was the biggest among the families of the students studying in Meteor Academy. Therefore, Leng Yichen was the most popular in Meteor Academy. He was handsome and could be said to be the perfect man in the eyes of these infatuated girls. In the eyes of the students of Meteor Academy, the Leng family was the supreme existence. As the head of the Leng family, Master Leng was undoubtedly the object of everyone's admiration. However, such an object of everyone's admiration was kneeling in front of Yunjian, who was also a student of Meteor Academy. The surrounding students, including the group of Leng family members behind Master Leng, were all dumbfounded. Grandpa Leng, you. How can you kneel in front of her? Even if she's really the witch goddess, how can you kneel in front of her? You're an elder. She should be the one kneeling in front of you. Lin Shui was dumbfounded. She never thought that Master Leng would kneel in front of Yunjian in front of everyone. The people around, including Lin Shui, Leng Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, were all dumbfounded. They thought that the excitement on Master Leng's face when he saw Yunjian was already shocking enough. However, Master Leng actually knelt in front of Yunjian. Judging from Master Leng's tone, it seemed that the Leng family had received the witch goddess favor when they were in Yulong mainland. Lin Shui's words were quickly interrupted by Song Zilin. Song Zilin was a smart person. He looked at Lin Shui and coughed twice, then pointed out Lin Shui's words. If she's really the witch goddess, she already existed in this world when our ancestors were still in Yulong mainland. In terms of seniority, Grandpa Leng is indeed younger than her. Song Zilin, Leng Yichen, and Gong Shangjin were good friends and had grown up together. Because aristocratic families interacted with each other and Lin Shui loved Leng Yichen, Song Zilin often ran into Lin Shui. Song Zilin didn't like Lin Shui, so he couldn't help but interrupt Lin Shui. Song Zilin's words were like a slap to Lin Shui's face. That was right. If Yun Jian was really the witch divinity, her seniority would be much higher than old Master Leng's. As soon as Song Zilin's words fell, Lin Shui's face instantly sank. She looked as if she had eaten dog shit, and her whole person was stupefied on the spot. Yun Jian didn't pay attention to what the people around her were saying. She looked at Master Leng who was kneeling in front of her, and continued to ask him calmly. The Leng family of the Yulong continent wasn't in a bad situation back then. Why would the Leng family, who had guarded the ancient divine beast Tao Tai for thousands of years for the Yulong continent, fall to such a state? The Leng family's status and situation in the Yulong continent weren't bad back then, and they were also one of the families that guarded the ancient divine beast. Yun Jian was puzzled because of this. I don't know much about it, but according to the records of our ancestors, ever since the fall of the sorcerer god, a group of mysterious men in black who were so powerful that no one could stop them started hunting down all the aristocratic families who were on good terms with the sorcerer tribe. The Leng family was one of them. Back then, the Leng family was hunted down by the mysterious men in black, and only a few of them were left. The few who escaped alive were the ancestors of the Leng family. Master Leng told Yun Jian everything he knew. Mysterious men in black. So, all the aristocratic families that were on good terms with the sorcerer tribe were killed? Yun Jian frowned. Chapter 1769. Under Yun Jian's questioning gaze, old Master Leng nodded. Yes, it's not just the Leng family. Many noble families who were close to the Wu tribe were also killed by the mysterious men in black back then. Old Master Leng had never experienced these things. It was recorded in the Leng family's genealogy. Therefore, his tone was calm when he said that, naturally, he would not feel the same way. Yun Jian nodded slightly and turned to look at old Master Leng who was kneeling in front of her, saying faintly, "You don't have to kneel to me here in the future. I saved the Leng family back then, it was just on the way. You don't have to take it to heart." After that, Yun Jian paused before she added, "Also, you don't have to call me witch goddess when you see me in the future. My name is Yun Jian, you can call me by my name." After Yun Jian said that, she turned to look at Shenbai who was dumbfounded from the start and told her, "Let's go back to the classroom. The class will start soon." Yun Jian's red lips curved into a smile. Huh? Oh. Okay. Shenbai looked at Leng Yichen blankly before she followed Yun Jian to the classroom, leaving behind the girls who had surrounded Leng Yichen and his friends in a hubbub but were now stunned speechless by what happened to Yun Jian. Just as Yun Jian took 2 steps toward the classroom, old Master Leng suddenly called out to her, "Right, witch goddess." Cough. Yunjian, our house is not far from the academy. You're welcome to visit anytime. Yunjian hummed softly in reply to Old Master Leng. Yunjian did not turn around. She was already walking to the classroom side by side with Shenbai. TSK. What are you pretending for? This is Earth. This is our territory. So what if she's the witch goddess? She has no power on Earth. Lin Shui was really annoyed at the sight of Yunjian. She suddenly recalled that they were on Earth now. So what if Yunjian was the witch goddess of Yulong mainland? When the people of Yulong continent arrived on Earth, they were not allowed to use spiritual energy. Otherwise, they would be punished. In that case, what else did Yunjian have to show off? What Lin Shui didn't know was that Yunjian had been on Earth for so many years, and her influence had already developed to the point where any one of them could make Lin Shui's Lin family disappear from this world. If Lin Shui knew, she would definitely not say that. Qiu Yi, stop talking nonsense. Regardless of whether the sorcerer goddess was her or not, she was still someone that the Leng family respected for generations. Without the sorcerer god, the Leng clan wouldn't exist today. Master Leng usually doted on Lin Shui, but for the sake of the witch god, he disagreed with Lin Shui. Grandpa Leng, even you are saying that about me. Lin Shui glared back at Yunjian, who had gone far away in displeasure before hooking her arm around old Master Leng's and swinging it coquettishly like a spoiled child. In the classroom. Sister Death, I didn't know you were so powerful. Shenbai looked at Yunjian with admiration. Go back to your seat. Yunjian's red lips curled slightly. She didn't reply to Shenbai, but spoke to Shenbai instead. Shenbai's father wanted her to protect Shenbai, and the descendant of the family who attacked Shenbai's brother, Shen Shaoqing, wasn't studying at Meteor Academy. She exposed her identity today because she wanted to blow up this matter as much as possible. This way, the fish would take the bait. Oh. After hearing Yunjian's words, Shenbai instinctively returned to her seat. Meteor Academy usually ended school early, at 3:30 p.m. The school ended at the same time. Ah. Look, Isn't that our school's hunk, young Master Leng? Ah, why is he in our class? Look, he's actually walking over there. Young Master Lin and young Master Jean are here too. Oh my god, am I dreaming? Chapter 1770. Yunjian's eyes narrowed slightly, but she didn't say anything. Instead, she neatly put the 3 textbooks into her bag, zipped it up, and walked in front of Shenbai. Death God sister, you packed up so quickly? I just saw you bring back 3 textbooks. Have you finished all the homework the teacher gave us? Shenbai tidied up her homework and asked Yunjian. The students of Meteor Academy were all rich children. Among the people in the school, there weren't many who entered because of good grades. And these rich children who studied in Meteor Academy never did homework. The teachers couldn't control this. There was no one like Shenbai and Yunjian who brought their workbooks back. Yunjian faintly replied to Shenbai. Today's homework was very difficult. Death God sister, you actually finished it. As long as they talked about homework, even if Leng Yichen, who she admired, came, she wouldn't pay attention to it. Shenbai was such a good student who loved to study. It's not difficult. If you don't understand, I can teach you. Yunjian's red arc hooked as she indifferently said. Okay. At this time, Shenbai stopped tidying up the homework she brought home and nodded towards Yunjian. Leng Yichen and the other 2 who were ignored on the side had a long black line in front of their eyes. Especially Leng Yichen. This was the first time someone talked to each other enthusiastically in front of him and ignored his existence. If it was said that when he first saw Shenbai, he couldn't remember her. But now that she was looking for her homework, Shenbai, who used to pursue him enthusiastically, but now acted as if she didn't see him, was very abrupt. So Leng Yichen couldn't help but look at Shenbai a few more times. Hey, this is the first time our young Master Leng has been ignored by a woman. The two of you are really amazing. Gong Shangjin, who always had a sloppy personality, walked in front of Yunjian and Shenbai and said with a smile. Oh, it's you guys. Shenbai finally reacted. Lang Yichen and the other two actually came to her classroom. My grandfather invited the two of you to my house. Especially Yunjian. Lang Yichen, who took off his sunglasses, was quite good-looking. He glanced sideways at Yunjian and said, Wow, really? Shenbai's eyes lit up. At the same time, she hastened to pack her bag. After packing, she hooked an arm around Yunjian and said to Yunjian, Sister Death, let's go together. Since Shenbai wanted to go, Yunjian naturally followed. The Leng family's villa was slightly different from the Shen family's villa. The Leng family's villa was more antique. Walking into the Leng family's villa, Yunjian felt like she had returned to Yulong mainland. In the living room of the Leng family's house, Master Leng saw Yunjian, so he immediately got off the main seat and invited Yunjian to sit in the main seat. You're here. Please take a seat. The main seat was the seat of the most powerful person in the Leng family. Now that Master Leng gave this seat to Yunjian, some people in the Leng family who didn't know Yunjian's identity were dissatisfied. Oh, who is this little girl? What right does she have to sit in the main seat? A sarcastic female voice sounded. The owner of this female voice was a woman in her 40s. Master Leng had 4 sons. The woman who spoke was the wife of Master Leng's eldest son, Xing Lengleng. Xing Lengleng used to be a selfish woman who would get involved in any matter, no matter how big or small it was. Sister-in-law, don't talk nonsense. I think this little girl looks delicate and pretty, so I like her very much. May I know if you are married? The person who spoke was the wife of Master Leng's second son, Zhang Qiuzi. Zhang Qiuzi was Lang Yichen's mother, and Lang Yichen was the descendant of the second son of the Leng family. Yunjian narrowed her eyes. Just as she was about to speak, a magnetic, rich, and pleasant male voice came from the entrance. His tone was domineering with absolute possessiveness. Once he spoke, everyone in the room was taken aback. Chapter 1771. This pleasant voice made the group of women present, who had guessed that the man's voice was handsome, couldn't help but sit up straight. This included Xing Lengleng and Zhang Qiuzi, who had been married for years and had grown children. As long as it was a woman, when she heard this voice, she would not be able to stop herself from fantasizing about the owner of this voice, who was so handsome that even the gods would be enraged. What was more, when Ce appeared at the entrance of the Leng residence's living room and made the women gasp and the men feel so inferior that they could not bear to look at his face, everyone was stunned. Who is this? He's too handsome. His looks were simply inhumanly handsome. Xing Lengleng stared at Ce, who had appeared out of nowhere, and wiped away her drool, swallowing hard. On the other side, Ce, who was inhumanly handsome, was making his way to Yunjian. It was not until Ce came to Yunjian and pulled Yunjian up from the main seat and into his arms that he introduced himself with a satisfied smile. Hello, I'm Xiao Jian's legal husband. Ce enunciated the words legal husband clearly, as if he was afraid that the people present did not know that he and Yunjian were married. If it were not for the inappropriate occasion, Ce would have taken out his marriage certificate again. Cough, you're married? Everyone present, including Lang Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, stared at Yunjian in bewilderment, their jaws dropping in bewilderment. You're married. Old Master Lang exclaimed in shock as he stared at Yunjian. The witch goddess was married. The news was so overwhelming that old Master Lang could not process it for a long time. Yunjian nodded in front of everyone and showed the diamond ring on her ring finger to the crowd. The women around them looked at Yunjian in envy and disbelief. Especially Xing Lengleng. Xing Lengleng was envious. Why had she not met such a handsome man when she was young? Xing Lengleng's husband, who was also the eldest son of the Leng family, had a beer belly. He was not tall nor handsome and reeked of sweat. Xing Lengleng was envious of Yunjian, so her gaze on Yunjian became even more hostile. Ce lowered his head slightly, his gaze fixed on Yun Jian without straying an inch away. It had been so long since he saw his Xiao Jian. She had gotten thinner again. It was time to nourish herself. How was she going to give birth to a soccer team for him when she was so skinny? Old master, bad news. Third madam is going into labor. Right at this moment, a servant stumbled into the room and shouted at Master Leng. What? She's about to give birth? Master Leng straightened his back in fear and walked out of the room with the others. The third daughter-in-law of the Leng family was pregnant now, so she couldn't leave the room. But she didn't expect that she would suddenly give birth now. The Leng family was in a frenzy. 3 hours later, Ce hugged Yun Jian and stood not far away from the Leng family's temporary delivery room. Third Madam Leng's screams and cries of agony came from the delivery room. Ah! 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 She had been screaming for 3 hours from the pain of labor. Her voice was getting softer as if she had no energy to scream anymore. Is the baby not out yet? Old Master Leng and Old Master Leng were anxious. Not yet. The baby's head isn't even out yet. I'm afraid the baby can't bear to leave the womb. The midwife said as she ordered the servants to continue preparing the items for delivery and went to the delivery room. Ce twitched his lips and muttered to himself, not a soccer team anymore. Chapter 1772. Yun Jian was stunned and didn't immediately understand the meaning behind Ce's words. Shen Bai, who was standing to the side, was anxiously listening to the third madam's hoarse cries in the delivery room and inadvertently overheard Ce's words. Yun Jian and the other two could have left first, but the third madam of the Leng family, who was currently giving birth, was a relative of the Shen family. Although she wasn't a direct relative, she still had some contact with the Shen family. In the past, the third madam would bring delicious food and fun things for the Shen family's children. The third madam was very kind, and Shenbai was one of the people who had received the third madam's kindness. Therefore, when the third madam suddenly gave birth, Shenbai naturally didn't want to leave first. Shenbai was also a person who knew how to repay kindness. When she heard Ce's words, Yun Jian was slightly stunned. What do you mean by not giving birth to a football team? Yun Jian was stunned, but she didn't ask. However, Shenbai, who was standing to the side, heard this and she unconsciously asked on behalf of Yun Jian, "What's a football team? Is there a football team around here? Why haven't I heard of it?" Shenbai's heart was anxious for the third madam, who was still giving birth in the delivery room, so she didn't think when she said this. A child. Ce's eyes were fixed on Yun Jian. His tall figure shrouded Yun Jian's right side, and he could see the beautiful side of Yun Jian's face if he lowered his head slightly. These two words were considered a reply to Shenbai. At this moment, Shenbai didn't hear Ce's words at all. She kept looking at the delivery room with an anxious expression. Leng Yichen, Song Zilin, and Gong Shangjin, who were standing to the side, clearly heard Ce's words. A football team equals a child? And Ce just said that he wouldn't give birth to a football team? This meant, could it be that he originally wanted Yun Jian to give birth to a football team's child? This was something only a sow could do. Cough, cough, cough. I'm going out to get some fresh air. After Song Zilin understood Ce's words, he couldn't help but cough twice. Then, he turned around and dragged Gong Shangjin, who was still unaware of the situation, out of the room. This was truly torturous. They were about the same age, but she had already thought about how many children she would have in the future. TSK. Leng Yichen didn't go out because his third aunt was still in labor. Yun Jian reacted quickly. Ce's words, coupled with the reactions of Song Zilin and the others, made Yun Jian's face instantly turn red. Master Leng and the other members of the Leng family who were standing around didn't notice them. At this moment, Yun Jian held Ce's hand and was about to walk out. Is third brother's wife all right? Could it be a difficult birth? Xing Lengleng, the eldest daughter-in-law of the Leng family, asked at this time. Before Yunjian and Ce could leave, the door of the delivery room was opened. Xing Lengleng's jinx came true. The midwife walked out of the delivery room anxiously. Her hands were covered in blood. As soon as the midwife walked out, she said to everyone in a trembling voice, "Hemorrhage, hemorrhage. Third madam is having a difficult birth, and her water has broken. But the child's body hasn't come out yet. What should we do? Master Lang, hurry up and send her to a proper hospital. If it's any later, we can only save one child." The midwife's trembling voice spread throughout the room, but it was an absolute blow to everyone present. WH. What? Difficult birth? Third brother of the Lang family almost fainted when he heard the midwife's words. Then hurry up and send her to the hospital. Hurry. Although Master Lang was also frightened, as the head of the Lang family, he was naturally much calmer. He quickly spoke. Xing Lengleng, who was hit by her own jinx, was so scared that she patted her own mouth and didn't dare to speak anymore. Just when everyone present was panicking and didn't know how to deal with the pregnant woman who was still in labor, a calm but heavenly female voice spread throughout the room. Chapter 1773. Right after Yun Jian said that, old Master Lang's eyes that were filled with despair and dejection flashed with a glimmer of hope. The midwife had been prepared a long time ago. The third madam of the Lang family was getting bigger and bigger and could give birth at any time, so the Lang family had prepared the best midwife. In this era, the hospital technology and equipment were not particularly developed. It was fine if a pregnant woman had a normal delivery, but if she encountered a difficult labor, the chances of survival were almost slim. Of course, the chances of a difficult labor were relatively small, only about 20%. If it was now, if she had a difficult labor, she could immediately be sent to the hospital for a cesarean section. Although there would be a scar on the belly after the delivery, it was better than having her life in danger. In 1999, even if there was something like a cesarean section in this era, few hospitals would carry it out. After all, the technology of a cesarean section was not very good at this time. If they were not careful, it was very likely that both the mother and the child would die. Naturally, the hospital did not dare to try it easily. Therefore, in this era, if there was a difficult labor, unless a cesarean section was performed which had no chance of success, the chances of survival were really pitifully low. And even if a cesarean section was to be performed, it must be done in a regular hospital under normal circumstances. Obviously, at this juncture, the third madam's situation did not allow for any delay. As soon as Yun Jian finished speaking, Master Lang's eyes lit up again. He knew that as the sorcerer goddess, Yun Jian would never say something that she was not confident about. Hey! Are you treating human life as a joke? Xing Lengleng, who had cursed the third madam to have a difficult labor just now, heard Yun Jian's words and became smug again. Ever since Yun Jian appeared for the first time and was invited to the main seat by Master Lang, Xing Lengleng hated Yun Jian very much. The main seat was only for the noblest person in the Lang family. Even the first madam of the Lang family, Xing Lengleng, had never sat there. Yun Jian was an outsider, how could she? Sister Grim Reaper. We all believe in you. You even saved my brother's life. The third madam treats me very well, you must save her. At this time, Shenbai looked at Yun Jian. She put her hands together and looked at Yun Jian with begging eyes. She saved your brother, Shen Shaoqing? Didn't your brother already declared dead? Lang Yichen stared at Shenbai with wide eyes and asked in astonishment. Big brother is currently recovering. Hearing Lang Yichen's question, Shenbai's cheeks flushed red. Alive? She saved him? Xing Lengleng crossed her arms in front of her chest just now. She didn't stop Yun Jian from saving her, but only took the opportunity to mock Yun Jian. It would be best if something happened to third madam and the child in her womb. It would be better if he was dead. Xing Lengleng did not care about third madam's life at all. At this moment, after hearing Shenbai and Lang Yichen's words, Xing Lengleng's face was slightly startled. She was clearly frightened. How could a dead person come back to life? Was that for real? At this time, Yun Jian ignored everyone as she walked straight to the delivery room and said indifferently, "Prepare a set of surgical tools for me and perform the C-section immediately." With the Leng family's influence, it was not difficult for them to obtain these tools. Ce stood where he was, watching Yun Jian walk into the delivery room with a gentle gaze. When his Xiao Jian was pregnant with his child in the future, he would definitely capture all the best midwives in the world and have them be on standby for delivery at any time from the day Xiao Jian was pregnant. He would not allow any hint of danger to exist. At this moment, the best midwives in the world were completely unaware that they were being targeted. Moreover, the person who targeted them would bring them home on the first day of his woman's pregnancy. When the doctors found out that this person had done so, they looked like they had eaten dog sh*t, brother. Other people only prepare midwives when the due date is approaching. Why did you prepare all the doctors on the first day of your wife's pregnancy? Chapter 1774. Ce grinned. It was fortunate that he had come to the Leng family to look for Xiao Jian today and had even seen the third madam of the Leng family giving birth. If it wasn't for that, he wouldn't have known that giving birth was such a painful thing. Thinking about how he had wanted Xiao Jian to give birth to a football team for him, Ce felt like smacking himself to death. He would rather be beaten to death than to let his Xiao Jian suffer so much. Young man, it's hard for a woman to give birth to a child. Back when my first wife was still alive, she was in pain for 4 times and left me 4 children. Sigh. If I had doted on her more back then, I wouldn't have to regret it so much now. Old Master Leng went to Ce and grumbled softly. Then, Old Master Leng turned to Ce. Not knowing Ce's identity, Old Master Leng patted Ce's shoulder and said earnestly, "Young man, you have to pamper your wife more in the future. Don't disappoint me." Old Master Leng's earnest words made Ce's eyes light up. "I don't need your reminder," Ce said with a straight face, not even looking at Old Master Leng. Old Master Leng chuckled at that. "That's great. That's great. The witch goddess had a descendant now." Old Master Leng was relieved because he knew that his third madam was absolutely safe with Yun Jian around. Yun Jian would not disappoint Old Master Leng. 2 hours later, a baby's cries were heard and Yun Jian walked out of the delivery room. The midwife's coaxing voice came from the delivery room. Everyone who heard it breathed a sigh of relief. The mother and child are both safe now. Send the mother to the hospital in an hour. The hospital will take care of the following symptoms, Yun Jian said faintly. Even when he knew the outcome, Old Master Leng's tense heart relaxed. Really? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are the benefactor of our husband and wife. Thank you. When Old Master Leng heard Yun Jian say that his wife's life was no longer in danger and the child was born safely, he rushed over to grab Yun Jian's hand to thank her. Before his hand could touch Yun Jian, however, it was slapped away by a large palm. Ce flung Old Master Leng's hand away and said with a dark face, "Don't touch my woman's hand." Ce said this with a straight face, his cold and handsome demeanor sending a shudder through the third son of the Leng family. In the end, Old Master Leng bowed to Yun Jian from afar and thanked him again. After Madame Yun Jian's family, the Leng family's family, Yun Jian. After making sure everything was fine, Yun Jian returned to the Shen family with Shen Bai. Old Master Leng to Yun's as a family for a while longer. For Yun Jian's for him for Yun. She said that she was going to Anhun to look for him. She had said this many times, but Yun Jian never went to Anhun to look for Ce. Although Ce didn't say anything, he was still a little disappointed. It was not Yun Jian's fault, though. The time was not up yet. The surprise had to come after the disappointment. Only then would one feel surprised and delighted. As for what Yun Jian's surprise was, it wasn't time yet, so it was a secret. When Yun Jian and Shen Bai returned to the Shen family, they saw Shen Wei's worried expression. Yun Jian couldn't help but narrow her eyes. "You're back?" Shen Wei looked at Yun Jian with worry and asked. Yeah, we went to Grandpa Lang's house as guests. Then, third madam gave birth, so we came back late, Shenbai explained to Shenwei. It was already 8:30 p.m., so they came back late. Just as Shenbai finished speaking to her father, Shenwei nodded to Shenbai. Then we'll go do our homework. We won't make it in time. Shenbai turned around and held Yunjian's hand as they ran upstairs. Which? Yunjian, wait, I have something to say to you, Shenwei suddenly called out to Yunjian. What is it? Shenbai was stunned. Go back to your room and do your homework. Shenwei urged Shenbai. Okay. If you can't let me hear it, Shenbai pretended to be angry and snorted the word humph. When this humph came out of Shenbai's mouth, it didn't sound like a bad woman's voice. Instead, it sounded cute. Yunjian narrowed her eyes and walked into the study with Shenwei. Great witch god. Those aristocratic families that colluded with each other to deal with us suddenly sent me an invitation, saying that they want to invite all the aristocratic families to a banquet. Just as they walked into the study, Shenwei cut to the chase and frowned as he spoke to Yunjian. Unexpectedly, when Yunjian heard this, her eyebrows raised slightly. Chapter 1775. Did they invite all the aristocratic families? Yunjian narrowed her eyes and asked Shenwei. Yes, that includes the Lang family that you went to today. Shenwei answered truthfully. Agree, we'll go to this banquet. Yunjian suddenly turned her head and looked at Shenwei. Her smile made Shenwei unable to describe how to describe it. Even Shenwei himself didn't know when he became Yunjian's subordinate. Now, the entire Shen family was under Yunjian's control. Yes. Shenwei nodded. Shenwei had mentioned before that many of the students studying in Meteor Aristocratic Academy were the descendants of aristocratic families. Now, there was a very common phenomenon. The aristocratic families of the students studying in Meteor Aristocratic Academy were generally the same as Shenwei's Shen family. They didn't associate themselves with those aristocratic families. As for those aristocratic families, they all sent their children to a place called Dark Aristocratic Academy to study. Meteor Aristocratic Academy. Dark Aristocratic Academy. The families of the former students were all on the Shen family side. The families of the latter students were all in cahoots with those aristocratic families. If you don't cooperate with our aristocratic families, we'll kill your aristocratic families. Therefore, there was such a saying before. Which side these aristocratic families stood on depended on which academy they sent their children to study in. Currently, it seemed that the aristocratic families of the students studying in Dark Aristocratic Academy were generally stronger than the Shen and Lang families. Therefore, Shenwei's son, Shen Shaocheng, was clearly framed by those aristocratic families who wallowed in the mire. But in order to protect the entire Shen family, Shenwei forcibly endured it. On Friday, Meteor Aristocratic Academy was on holiday. Many aristocratic families' children were sent to Dark Aristocratic Academy. This time, the aristocratic families that were hostile to the Shen and Lang families set the banquet at Dark Aristocratic Academy. The theme of this banquet was a masquerade ball. Apart from the aristocratic families' children who could participate, all the Meteor and Dark Aristocratic Academy's children who weren't from aristocratic families could also participate. Naturally, they had to dress up before going. Shenbai didn't know the danger of this banquet. She was like an innocent little girl, choosing her favorite dress and carefully dressing herself up. Yunjian wore a black evening gown that showed off her figure. This exquisite evening gown outlined her perfect figure incisively and vividly. Even from afar, one would be attracted by this perfect figure. This black evening dress was actually a very ordinary dress, but when Yunjian wore it, there was an indescribable sense of nobility. Many people were already present when he entered the Dark Noble Academy's masquerade ball. Yunjian and Shenbai each put on a mask and walked into the crowd. At the scene of the masquerade ball, 3 middle-aged men were holding wine glasses in the distance. They were not wearing masks and were chatting with each other. These three people were the three most powerful and influential families among the clans that wallowed in the mire. They were the Zhu family, the Lan family, and the Mo family. Among the three aristocratic families, the Lan clan was the most important. Just as Yunjian narrowed her eyes, Shenbai suddenly pulled on Yunjian's arm and shouted, "It's them! It's them! Let's go quickly!" Chapter 1776. It's you too. The moment he saw Yunjian and Shenbai walk over, Song Ziling quickly recognized the masked Yunjian and Shenbai. He happily waved at Yunjian and Shenbai. "For the matter 2 days ago, I thank you on behalf of Third Aunt." Even Leng Yichen, who always had a cold appearance, nodded towards Yunjian. Yunjian also very indifferently nodded. Leng Yichen and the other two were all wearing masks and looked like young masters in their youth. Yichen. Yichen, so you're here." At this time, a very loud voice sounded. Yunjian didn't need to look to know that the owner of this voice was Lin Shui, who had sprayed her and Shenbai with water spray at Meteor Academy. When she saw Yunjian and Shenbai, Lin Shui, who was also wearing a mask, immediately recognized Yunjian and Shenbai. "It's you guys. Why are you guys here?" This was Lin Shui's first reaction. When she saw Yunjian's perfect figure that made people jealous wrapped in this unremarkable black evening gown, Lin Shui's jealousy rose to the extreme. Just as Lin Shui fiercely glared at Yunjian, Yunjian's eyes suddenly lit up. She reached out and grabbed Shenbai, then turned a small circle to the left to dodge. A jet of bright red liquid sprayed in the air like a fountain and flew past where Yunjian and Shenbai were standing at a speed that was visible to everyone, heading straight for Lin Shui, who was standing right in front of the spot where Yunjian and Shenbai were standing just now. This was the trajectory of a glass of red wine, and this uncontrollable glass of red wine just happened to spill on Lin Shui's evening gown. Lin Shui's evening gown was white, but with this spill, one part of it instantly turned red. Seeing this, Lin Shui's face turned green. Not far away, the 16 or 17-year-old girl who purposely poured red wine on Yunjian saw that she poured it on the wrong person, but she didn't show any signs of remorse. "What are you doing?" Lin Shui exclaimed when she saw the girl pouring red wine on herself. "Humph, the person I want to knock down isn't you. Who allowed you to stand there?" The 16 or 17-year-old girl raised her head and glared at Lin Shui righteously. Now Lin Shui knew that she had become Yunjian's scapegoat. "Why did you dodge just now? You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Lin Shui roared at Yunjian again. Yunjian ignored her. Lin Shui was so angry that she glared angrily at the 16 or 17-year-old girl. She said fiercely, "Which aristocratic family are you from? Do you want to die? Who's the one courting death?" "I'm from the Lan clan, and my father is the patriarch of the Lan clan. Do you believe that I'll get my father to exterminate all of you?" The 16 or 17-year-old girl sneered at Lin Shui. This young girl's name is Lan Biqing. She is the young lady of the Lan family. The Lan family was the largest aristocratic family in the southern part of the Jiang province. Lin Shui's Lin family was nothing compared to the Lan clan. So when she heard Lan Biqing's words, Lin Shui was so scared that she shrank back. Seeing this, Lan Biqing turned to look at Yunjian smugly. She saw Yunjian's slim figure and thought that she was too beautiful. So, she could not help but come over to fix her. She did not expect that she would be the wrong person. Lan Biqing thought that she would be able to see the fear on Yunjian's face after she revealed her identity. However, Lan Biqing was disappointed. Yunjian was not flustered at all. Instead, she crossed her arms and looked at her. Seeing this, Lan Biqing was furious. Just as Lan Biqing was about to do something to Yunjian, the scene suddenly quieted down. On the stage, the patriarch of the Lan clan, Lan Hongtian, who was also Lan Biqing's father, was standing there. He gestured for the crowd to quiet down. Lan Hongtian's power was overwhelming. So, the crowd immediately quieted down and did not dare to say a word. Then, Lan Hongtian's voice rang out. The reason I'm holding a masquerade party here today is to let everyone enjoy themselves. Chapter 1777. Whether it was the students of Meteor Academy or Dark Academy, they all knew about the existence of the Yulong continent and the legends of the Sorcerer God and the Lord God. Of course, these rumors were spread by the young masters and ladies of the aristocratic families. Of course, if the ordinary students who were studying in the academy heard these young ladies and young masters from aristocratic families spread the bizarre news that there was a Shushian continent called Yulong continent in addition to Earth, it was another matter whether the ordinary students believed it or not. Because of this, when the head of the Lan family, Lan Hong Tian, stood on the stage and spoke to everyone below, everyone pricked up their ears to listen. Especially those who did not know about the incident at Meteor Academy where Yunjian admitted that she was the sorcerer god. In the past, they had only heard of the legendary story of the sorcerer god of the Yulong continent. In their hearts, the sorcerer god was like an ordinary person seeing a god. It was an impossible figure. But at this moment, the head of the Lan family, Lan Hongtian, actually said in front of everyone that there was a young lady who claimed to be the sorcerer god of the sorcerer tribe of the Yulong continent. This was like standing on the street and suddenly someone claimed to be a fairy who came down from the heavens. It was unbelievable. But one thing that they had to admit was that what Lan Hongtian said just now really attracted the attention of everyone present. At this moment, all the students had the same thought. They wanted to see who the young lady who claimed to be the sorcerer god was. What did she look like? Was this matter true or not? After Lan Hongtian's voice fell, the dance hall was silent. Yunjian's red arc was slightly raised. She did not stand out even though she was called out. This was a masquerade ball. Everyone around was wearing masks. Even if Yunjian did not stand out, no one would recognize her. Dad is too much. The legendary sorcerer god is the existence of the Yulong continent. He is the object of our aristocratic family's admiration and admiration. How could such a powerful person appear here? It's obvious that the young lady who claimed to be the sorcerer god is another ghost impersonator. Seeing his father Lan Hong Tian say this in front of so many people, Lan Biqing couldn't help but ridicule him. How could such a noble person like the sorcerer god appear on Earth? This. Cough. Not necessarily. Song Zilin touched his nose and complained in a low voice. Why not? A person of such high status like the sorcerer god would never appear here. Lan Biqing's voice was loud and confident. Cough. Song Zilin glanced at him and rubbed his nose. He ignored Lan Biqing. Why couldn't he appear here? Isn't the sorcerer god standing right in front of you right now? And it's the person you didn't like just now. Song Zilin didn't say it out loud. Yunjian narrowed her eyes and looked at Lan Hong Tian who was standing on the stage. Yunjian had just shifted her gaze to Lan Hong Tian who was standing on the stage when Lan Biqing's aggressive voice rang out again. What are you looking at? No matter how much you look, the sorcerer god that my father is talking about is definitely not you. The people around him were all looking at the stage. Lan Biqing pretended not to see anything. Yunjian looked at that pair of eyes on the stage, but Lan Biqing was aggressive. She could imagine that Lan Biqing wanted to pour the red wine on Yunjian because he was jealous of Yunjian's beauty. She couldn't help but sigh. Yunjian's beauty came from inside out. Even if she didn't show her face, she could make girls jealous to death just by looking at her back. Just as Lan Biqing's voice fell, a rather pleasant male voice rang out. Biqing, you're here? When I heard your voice, I knew it was you. When the male voice fell, Yunjian glanced over. She saw two masked boys standing in front of her. One look and you could tell that their status wasn't low. The one who spoke was the shorter one on the right, and the one on the left didn't say anything. Beside the two boys stood a large group of young boys and girls. When Lan Biqing saw the boy on the left who didn't say anything, his eyes lit up. He shouted excitedly at the boy who didn't say anything, Brother Shiling. You're here. It took me a long time to find you. As he spoke, Lan Biqing glared at Yunjian. He looked like he was showing off that he was very familiar with this boy. He pounced on the boy who was called Brother Shiling. Mo Shiling, the recognized genius of the Mo family. Chapter 1778. Lan Biqing said as he flew in front of Mo Shiling and grabbed her hand. Mo Shiling said softly. Different from Lang Yichen's indifference, Mo Shiling was the kind of person who ignored strangers and only cared about acquaintances. Biqing Mimi, I was the one who called you, but you called your brother Shiling's name. My heart hurts. Standing next to Mo Shiling, the boy who called for Lan Biqing just now put his hand over his heart and pretended to be heartbroken. The boy standing next to Mo Shiling was the young master of the Zhu family, named Zhu Bufan. Mo Shiling and Zhu Bufan were the school hunks of the Dark Noble Academy. Their status was about the same as Lang Yichen's group in the Meteor Noble Academy. But in comparison, Mo Shiling and Zhu Bufan's status was higher than Lang Yichen's group. Brother Bufan, don't make fun of me. Lan Biqing immediately acted like a little girl. The Lan family, Mo family, and Zhu family were the three leading families in the Dark Noble Academy. Their status was not something that the Shen family and Lang family could compare to. And Mo Shiling was the strongest in the younger generation among all the aristocratic families. She was also known as the strongest youth. The group of boys and girls standing next to him were all young masters and young ladies of the aristocratic families who were on good terms with the Lan family, Mo family, and Zhu family. Therefore, they all greeted Lan Biqing. Lan Biqing felt that he had a lot of face in front of Yun Jian and this group of people. He knew so many people and each one of them was an elite youth. And Yun Jian and this group of people were a bit like country bumpkins entering the city. The more Lan Biqing thought about it, the prouder he became. He didn't know where this arrogance came from. Biqing Mimi, these people are. At this time, Zhu Bufan, who was smiling mischievously, locked his eyes on the group led by Yun Jian and asked Lan Biqing. A group of people who think they are great, I don't know if they are from aristocratic families. Lan Biqing looked at Yun Jian and the others with contempt. Especially when he looked at Yun Jian, Lan Biqing glared at Yun Jian. There was a strong sense of mockery in his words. In the eyes of Lan Biqing and the others, if they were not from the aristocratic families, then they were just ordinary people. It was like a person with a net worth of over 100 million seeing someone with a net worth of over 1 million. Sister Biqing, don't say that. Since we're all here, we're all friends. Zhu Bufan said, but pride was inevitable. Among all the people present, Lan Biqing, Mo Shiling and Zhu Bufan's Lan family, Mo family and Zhu family had the highest status. Even Lang Yichen's Lang family couldn't compare. Therefore, the pride in Zhu Bufan's words was understandable. At this time, Lan Hong Tian, who had been waiting on the stage for a long time without a reply, smiled awkwardly. It seems that the girl who claims to be the sorcerer goddess doesn't want to go on stage now? This Lan understands. After the masquerade ball is over, this Lan will invite you up again. Lan Hong Tian's words meant that he would not give up until he saw the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess. These words were also directly telling Yun Jian that if you don't show up today, don't even think about leaving. In this regard, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes slightly. After Lan Hong Tian's words fell, the masquerade ball began. The music in the ballroom suddenly sounded. This was a masquerade ball. Naturally, the boys invited the girls to dance with the music. At this time, Zhu Bufan, who looked delicate and pretty, walked in front of Yun Jian. In front of everyone, he stretched out his hand to Yun Jian and invited her. Miss, what's your name? Do you want to dance with me? Zhu Bufan and Mo Shiling were the school hunks of the Dark Noble Academy and were very popular. Even if they were wearing masks, many girls around could recognize them. Therefore, after Zhu Bufan's voice fell, the girls around immediately screamed like crazy. Wow, who's that girl? Why did Master Fan invite her to dance? God! I'm so envious. Master Fan is so handsome. If only I were that girl. Zhu Bufan was the young master of the Zhu family. He had a high status and good looks. However, just this status alone was enough to make the girls go crazy and scream. At this time, everyone was envious of Yun Jian. Just when everyone thought that Yun Jian would be so excited that she would immediately agree to Zhu Bufan's invitation, they saw Yun Jian with her arms crossed in front of her chest. She had no intention of extending her hand at all. Yun Jian stood in place and sneered at Zhu Bufan in front of everyone. Chapter 1779. Lan family, Mo family, and Zhu family had the highest status. Mo family was second only to Lan family because of Mo Shiling. Although Zhu family's status was lower than Lan family and Mo family, Zhu family's status was ranked third among all the families in the entire ballroom. As the future heir of Zhu family, except for Mo Shiling, Zhu Bufan was undoubtedly the ideal partner in the hearts of many girls. But just now, Zhu Bufan was the ideal partner in the hearts of many girls. Among the younger generation, except for Mo Shiling, he was the most outstanding one. He was also the school hunk of the Dark Aristocrat Academy and had a high status. But Yun Jian said that he was a waste whose strength was not as good as hers. Just the fact that Yun Jian refused to dance with Zhu Bufan was enough to surprise everyone present. Who was Zhu Bufan? He was the school hunk of the Dark Aristocrat Academy. Other girls were rushing to have a relationship with Zhu Bufan, but this girl. She actually refused Zhu Bufan's invitation to dance. That was fine, but she actually said that Zhu Bufan was a waste? One had to know that in addition to the genius of the Mo family, Mo Shiling, the strongest among the younger generation was Zhu Bufan. What? Waste, who are you talking about? Even Zhu Bufan himself was confused for a moment before he asked. Naturally, I'm talking about you. Yun Jian sneered. She stood in front of the long table where the pastries were placed. She lazily picked up a piece of osmanthus cake from the long table and threw it into the air. She opened her mouth and threw it into her mouth. Dancing at a masquerade ball was not as good as eating a few pieces of pastries. You actually said that Brother Bufan is a waste? I think you are the waste. Do you have any shame? How can there be such a shameless woman like you in this world? After listening to Yun Jian's words, Lan Biqing, who had not had a chance to scold Yun Jian, was stunned. In front of everyone, he stretched out his hand and shouted at Yun Jian. Too much. Even Mo Shiling, who had been silent, frowned and said such a sentence. Mo Shiling's words were like an imperial edict in the eyes of the girls. That's right. How can you be so excessive? Even young Master Ling said that you've gone too far. How could a girl like her be invited to tonight's masquerade ball? Get the hell out of here. We don't welcome you. Exactly. You're not welcome here. Get out of here. Immediately, the surrounding girls began to curse in unison. Mo Shiling had always regarded himself as aloof. Because of his outstanding strength, he hardly spoke, giving people a feeling of being aloof and difficult to get along with. How can a girl like you be so annoying? No one welcomes you. Hurry up and leave this place. Seeing this, Lan Biqing stood up and said a lot of things. She only said one sentence, how can you do this? Hearing this, Shenbai couldn't help but stand up for Yun Jian. Just as Shenbai finished speaking, Lan Biqing and the surrounding girls bombarded Shenbai with words. Who are you to her? Ha ha ha, you're still speaking up for her. Very impressive. You also get out of the ball with us. Among these girls, it was unknown who took the lead, but they all helped Lan Biqing to curse Shenbai, who spoke up for Yun Jian. Just as the cursing of the group of people present was extremely loud and unpleasant to listen to. Yun Jian slightly frowned. You guys are very noisy. Yun Jian's indifferent words came out of her mouth. Isn't that because you're too much? You actually said that our young master fan is a waste, you're the waste. You. When these girls heard this, they became even more enthusiastic. Just as this group of girls opened their mouths and chattered, Yun Jian, who had her hands on the pastry table, suddenly stretched out her hands and picked up more than 10 pieces of pastry on the table. In front of everyone, she directly threw the pastry out. These more than 10 pieces of pastry could be clearly seen in front of everyone's eyes, flying to more than 10 different places. In front of everyone, they blocked the mouths of more than 10 girls who were standing at different angles. All the voices stopped in an instant. Seeing this, Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan, as well as everyone present, were all shocked. Chapter 1780. There were a few girls who scolded the loudest. When they were scolding Yunjian, their mouths were the biggest. This small piece of pastry flew directly into the mouths of the girls who scolded the loudest. The girls couldn't control themselves and swallowed the unshelled pastry along with their saliva. These dozens of pieces of pastry successfully blocked the mouths of the girls who were scolding Yunjian. Yunjian's words just now made the girls whose mouths were blocked by Yunjian terrified. It also made Mo Xiling, Zhu Bufan and Lan Biqing, who was blocked by the pastry, feel a chill down their spine. More than a dozen pieces of pastry were thrown together. And when throwing, one had to pay attention to the different frequency and speed of these girls' mouths. Only then could all the pastry be thrown into the mouths of these girls. Yunjian's move just now made everyone present tremble. Moreover, she had merely narrowed her eyes and tossed out the pastries as if she was just throwing a few ordinary items. This successfully blocked the mouths of the girls. This throwing technique, how accurate must it be to be able to do this? And Yunjian's last sentence completely shocked everyone present. What did she mean by, "You should be glad that I threw out a pastry and not a blade"? Thinking about it carefully, it really was like this. If Yunjian had thrown a razor blade and not a pastry just now, she would have been fine. Then the girls who didn't spit out the pastry and swallowed it directly, wouldn't they be scared, so scared that their whole body was trembling in panic? All the girls present, including Lan Biqing, were trembling in fear at this moment. God, that speed just now, it's too scary. The bystanders who saw the scene just now were so scared that they screamed. Mo Xiling, who was known as the strongest teenager, also darkened her face in an instant. No one knew better than Mo Xiling how terrifying Yunjian's move was. Not to mention whether he could do it or not. Even if he had to throw 3 pieces of pastries into the mouths of 3 girls who were clicking their tongues at the same time, he would never be able to do it. Not to mention that Yunjian had thrown out more than a dozen pastries. Zhu Bufan was also given a fright. Lin Shui, who had always been against Yunjian, was so scared that she took 2 steps back. She swore in her heart that she would never dare to provoke Yunjian again. Leng Yichen and the other 2 were a little calmer, but they couldn't hide the shock in their hearts. You. Are you trying to be mysterious again? Don't think that your move just now is very powerful. I tell you, my brother Xiling can also do it. No, he's even better than you. Lan Biqing accidentally swallowed the pastry. When she finally regained her senses, she glared fiercely at Yunjian and said those words. Yunjian did not pay attention to what Lan Biqing said after that. She only smiled coldly. It was a mocking smile. After laughing, she reached out to pick up the pastry on the long table and put it in her mouth to chew gently. The venue of this masquerade party was not very good, but the pastries were not bad. Halfway through the masquerade party, the head of the Lan family, Lan Hongtian, stood on the stage again. He held a microphone in his hand, glanced at the audience, and smiled. Hey, the girl who claims to be the witch god, you still don't want to come out? Guess who I've brought to you? After that, a girl in black was brought to the stage. The girl was covered in blood and looked like she had been beaten many times. Chapter 1781. Lan Hongtian's words spread throughout the scene. Obviously, from the moment Lan Hongtian appeared, he held the microphone in his hand and asked everyone to gather with the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess. He was confident that he could force Yunjian out. Of course, The premise was that the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess was indeed the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent. If she was not the sorcerer goddess of Yulong continent, even if Lan Hong Tian brought out his trump card, this girl from the sorcerer tribe, it would be useless. Of course, if she was not the real sorcerer goddess of the sorcerer tribe, then even if the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess appeared, it would be useless to Lan Hong Tian. That's right, Lan Hong Tian wanted to use this girl to threaten Yun Jian. The premise of all this was that Yun Jian was really the sorcerer goddess of the sorcerer tribe. When they saw him covered in blood, his black clothes had been whipped into tatters, and there were bloodstains all over his body, everyone present was in an uproar. This girl from the sorcerer tribe was very beautiful and looked very fresh. The legendary sorcerer tribe was basically all female and all of them were very fresh and beautiful. The legendary sorcerer tribe was a place where beauties were born. The girl on the stage revealed a pair of fair thighs. Although it covered her important parts, her beauty made everyone present take a deep breath. Yun Jian's eyes sized up the girl on the stage. When she saw the girl's appearance, she raised her eyebrows slightly. There were so many girls in the sorcerer tribe. Naturally, she could not recognize all of them. However, as long as they were from the sorcerer tribe, the aura they exuded could not be wrong. This girl was indeed from the sorcerer tribe. Yun Jian's nonchalant gaze turned sharp at once. Murderous intent appeared. That girl was caught. Why are you angry? This is not your problem. Do you still think of yourself as the sorcerer goddess of the sorcerer tribe? Lan Biqing, who saw the change in Yun Jian's expression, said angrily. Mo Shiling, Zhu Bufan, and everyone present looked at Yun Jian. However, in the next second, Yun Jian did not even look at Lan Biqing and walked towards the stage. She really thinks of herself as the sorcerer god. Let's see how long she can be stubborn for. Lan Biqing had yet to react. Could she be the girl who claimed to be the sorcerer goddess? Seeing Yun Jian walk to the front of the stage and jump onto it with ease, Zhu Bufan suddenly came to a realization and shouted loudly. This time, the attention of Lan Biqing, Mo Shiling, Lin Qiui, Shen Bai, and Lang Yichen, as well as everyone present, was drawn over. However, Yun Jian, who had jumped onto the stage, met the eyes of the Lan family's patriarch, Lan Hongtian, in front of everyone's dumbfounded gazes, and said, "For thousands of years, you are the first person who dared to capture a member of the shaman tribe right under my nose." Yun Jian's words caused an uproar. She really is the girl who called herself the sorcerer goddess. You are the sorcerer goddess of Yulong mainland. Lan Hongtian looked at Yun Jian and was shocked by her aura. This aura. This battle formation. It can't be wrong. She must really be the sorcerer goddess of Yulong mainland. There really is a Yulong mainland in this world. There really is a sorcerer goddess. Lan Hongtian laughed a few times and then suppressed the girl from the shaman tribe. He placed the knife on the girl's neck and ordered Yun Jian, "Listen up. You must listen to my orders in the future. Otherwise, I will kill her." This threat made Yun Jian's lips curl into a beautiful red arc. In front of everyone, Yun Jian walked toward Lan Hongtian and the suppressed girl from the shaman tribe without fear. She said something coldly that made everyone present go crazy. "Since you know that I am the sorcerer goddess of the shaman tribe, then you should know my principles." "What principles?" Lan Hongtian heard this and took a deep breath and asked. Yun Jian, who was standing on the stage, flipped her right hand in front of everyone and a knife that made all the aristocratic family stand up straight appeared. God-vanquishing blade. That knife was the God-vanquishing knife. The God-vanquishing knife had only appeared in the books recorded by their ancestors. It was said that even the people of Yulong mainland regarded this knife as a legendary weapon. Before the aristocratic families could react, Yun Jian, who was holding the butterfly knife of the God-vanquishing knife, slowly walked toward Lan Hongtian with the knife in her hand. Her smile was so strange that it made everyone present shudder. "Listen up. I am the daughter of the shaman tribe. The principles of the sorcerer goddess are Chapter 1782. At this moment, Yun Jian seemed to be a different person compared to the original Yun Jian. The Yun Jian who first appeared in front of Lan Biqing, Mo Xiling, Zhu Bufan and the others was wearing a mask from the masquerade party. She gave people a very mysterious feeling, but just looking at her figure gave people a feeling of extreme beauty. At that time, Yun Jian really looked like a little girl who came to attend the banquet, pure and moving. But throwing away that pure aura, at this moment, Yun Jian gave people the feeling that she was the king of the jungle. Although she was wearing a mask, her words just now coupled with her flamboyant figure at this moment. At this moment, Yun Jian was like a god who controlled killing. Seeing her like this, Lan Biqing and the group of girls who were against her at the beginning were stunned, and it made Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan's hearts beat violently. So domineering. So arrogant. So arrogant. Yun Jian's arrogant look just now, not to mention the most outstanding genius of the younger generation, Mo Xiling, would not dare to do so. Mo Xiling was afraid that she did not even have the courage to look straight into the eyes of the Lan family's head, Lan Hongtian. Therefore, Mo Xiling and Zhu Bufan, who wanted to tease Yun Jian at the beginning, did not look particularly good. Sorcerer God. Sorcerer God. Sorcerer God. At this moment, the Shen family, who was standing not far away, joined forces with the Leng family and all the other families who fought against the Lan family and shouted at Yun Jian on the stage. Standing on the stage, Yun Jian heard the shouts and naturally knew that these shouts must have been organized by Shen Wei. If they did not fight against the Lan family and this group of families who colluded with each other, when would they? What's more, they had the support of the sorcerer god. Shen Wei was not stupid and naturally understood this point. Yun Jian did not respond. At this moment, her eyes were red as she walked in the direction of Lan Hongtian who was suppressing the witch tribe girl. When the people of Yulong continent came to Earth, they had no spiritual power, but if they used it forcibly, they could still use spiritual power, but they had to pay a price. However, Yun Jian could tell that the young witch girl, who was covered in wounds from the beatings, had no spiritual energy left in her body. He had heard from Shen Wei that the Lan family had gathered together because they wanted to rush back to the Yulong continent one day and attempt to rule the Yulong continent. Therefore, since a few hundred years ago, the Lan family had been researching a potion that could make the people of the Yulong continent lose their spiritual power. And now, the experiment was a success. Needless to say, this young lady from the sorcerer tribe had been drugged with this potion. Hence, even if she was in the Yulong continent, she would not be able to use her spiritual energy. Lan Hongtian captured the young girl from the witch tribe. This action made Yun Jian very angry. What angered Yun Jian even more was that Lan Hongtian had not only captured the young women from the sorcerer tribe, he had also tortured and beaten the young women from the sorcerer tribe. With the god-vanquishing blade in her hand, Yun Jian walked towards Lan Hongtian without stopping. Seeing the god-vanquishing blade in Yun Jian's hand, Lan Hongtian, who was holding the blade against the young woman from the sorcerer tribe's neck, was frightened. He threw away the blade and stepped on the young woman from the sorcerer tribe mercilessly. He then fished out a bottle of potion from his body. Since you won't listen to me, I won't hold back either. You should have heard of this potion. As long as I sprinkle it on the people of the Yulong continent, you will immediately lose your spiritual energy. So what if you are the sorcerer god? You must listen to me. Lan Hongtian took out his trump card. He looked at Yun Jian and shouted. The crowd below the stage, including the people from the Shen family who were shouting just now, felt their hearts tighten. That potion. It would make the sorcerer god lose his spiritual energy. Could it be that the sorcerer god was being threatened just like that? Just as they were thinking about it, they saw Yun Jian laugh coldly. She did not stop but continued to walk towards Lan Hongtian. You. Looks like you are stubborn. I won't hold back then. After Lan Hongtian finished speaking, he opened the cap of the potion and sprinkled it on Yun Jian's body. Oh no, quickly dodge. Shen Wei was so frightened that his expression changed drastically. Everyone below the stage was stunned. Just as the potion was sprinkled on Yun Jian's body, they saw Yunjian's figure flash. Her speed suddenly became as fast as thunder. In a breath's time, she appeared in front of Lan Hongtian from 5 meters away. The god-vanquishing blade stabbed into Lan Hongtian's heart in front of everyone at a speed that Lan Hongtian did not even have time to react. In the next second, Yunjian pulled out her blade and kicked Lan Hongtian off the stage before he could react. Just as the crowd was so frightened that their backs straightened, Yunjian's cold voice rang out a second before Lan Hongtian closed his eyes and stopped breathing. Chapter 1783. In the eyes of these aristocratic families, other than the sorcerer goddess of Yulong mainland, the internationally renowned slaying god was also a person that these aristocratic families and the people present had heard of. Yunjian's last sentence, Kosha mercenaries, slaying god, made it clear to those who did not know who slaying god was. Who else could slaying god of Kosha mercenaries be? Other than slaying god, who was ranked first on the international secret agent ranking, who else belonged to Kosha mercenaries? Many of the students present might not know who slaying god of Kosha mercenaries was, but these aristocratic families' children had been educated by their families since young. They were very familiar with slaying god of Kosha mercenaries. This was a terrifying existence that they did not dare to provoke. Therefore, when Yunjian finished speaking, everyone present, especially Lan Biqing, Mo Shiling, and Zhu Bufan, including the group of girls who had mocked and ridiculed Yunjian and were aggressive toward Yunjian like a machine gun. In the end, Yunjian sealed their mouths with pastries. Everyone's pupils contracted, their faces were tense, and their mouths were agape. The moment Lan Hongtian closed his eyes, he heard Yunjian's voice. It was too late for regrets. The potion that the Lan family had planned for hundreds of years and spent so much manpower and energy to develop was ineffective against the sorcerer goddess. And she was slaying god, ranked first on the secret agent ranking in the country. Even if Yunjian had lost her spiritual power, with the Lan family's power, forget about capturing Yunjian, the entire Lan family would have been annihilated. And now, the Lan family was done for. Completely done for. He was also done for. The Lan family's years of hard work were all gone after he had wronged Yunjian. In that instant, countless emotions flashed through everyone's mind. 3 seconds later, Lan Hongtian was kicked off the stage. Fresh blood spurted out from his heart and drew an arc in the air. Lan Hongtian was brutally smashed to the ground and died a tragic death. For those who were stabbed by the god-vanquishing blade, even the gods of deity continent would have their souls destroyed, let alone humans. Lan Hongtian's soul was destroyed. He could not escape. The families who were in cahoots with Lan Hongtian shrank back when they saw Lan Hongtian being stabbed to death by Yunjian and kicked off the stage. Even the masters of the Mo family and Zhu family, who were in cahoots with the Lan family, did not dare to step forward. The Lan family's patriarch, Lan Hongtian, had committed countless atrocities. In order to develop that bottle of medicine, he had captured thousands of innocent people and killed them for experiments. Since they could not capture people from the Yulong continent, they could only capture ordinary people from Earth. A bottle of potion was very corrosive to ordinary people. As long as a failed product was sprinkled on an ordinary person, that person would be corroded alive and die. Therefore, the god-vanquish god experiment was a person. The Lan family's master was Slin god-vanquish Lan Shenwei had long been annoyed by Lan Hongtian's actions of harming the innocent. However, Lan Hongtian and his group were powerful. He could not do anything about them. Now that he saw Yunjian killing such a heinous person in the form of his soul being destroyed, Shenwei immediately took the lead to call out to Yunjian, sorcerer goddess. Sorcerer goddess. When Lan Biqing realized that his father had been killed by Yunjian and was about to rush over, the families who were in cahoots with the Lan family had already retreated with their people. The Mo family and Zhu family retreated quickly when they saw this. However, before they could leave, Lan Su, Gu Nianji, and Qin Yu came from afar with a large group of people and surrounded the place. Although the Mo family and Zhu family were afraid of Yunjian, they did not recognize Lan Su and the other two when they saw Lan Su and the other two surrounding the place. Therefore, the Mo family's master shouted at Lan Su, trying to scare Lan Su away from his voice. Who are you? Just as the Mo family's master finished speaking, Lan Su's voice, which was no less loud than the Mo family's master's, rang out. Chapter 1784. Lan Su? You mean Lan Su, the first guardian of the sorcerer goddess in our ancestors' records? The daughter of the sorcerer tribe's sorcerer goddess who is second only to the sorcerer goddess in Yulong mainland? Just as Lan Su finished speaking, Master Mo and Master Zhu who were standing beside Master Mo exclaimed in shock. The sorcerer goddess was also a person who was recorded in great detail in the family records of these noble families' ancestors. When the sorcerer goddess was mentioned, Lan Su, as the first guardian of the sorcerer goddess, was also emphasized. It was true that the sorcerer goddess was the pinnacle of existence in Yulong mainland. As the first guardian of the sorcerer goddess, Lan Su's position was also top-notch in Yulong mainland. What? Our ancestors migrated from Yulong mainland hundreds and thousands of years ago and we've never seen anyone from Yulong mainland until now. Why are there so many of them here now? And they're all the legendary figures in Yulong mainland. The Mo family head, who had been shouting at Lan Su and trying to use his loud voice to suppress Lan Su, narrowed his eyes at this moment. He suddenly became timid and didn't even dare to speak loudly. Lan Su, Gu Nianji, and Qing Yu walked toward Yun Jian after getting people to surround the scene. Then, under everyone's watchful eyes, Lan Su and Gu Nianji bowed to Yun Jian the way Yulong mainland greeted the sorcerer goddess. Sorcerer goddess. Yun Jian raised a brow. Since she had been wearing a mask since the beginning, everyone could only see her slim and well-proportioned figure but not her face. Yun Jian had openly exposed her identity today because she was wearing a mask. With so many people present, it was impossible for 2 students from aristocratic schools to use a 3-hour amnesia serum. The cost was high. If everyone were to use it, Qing Yu would probably chase her all over the streets. Clean up the scene. Take care of all the noble families who have harmed people with the Lan family as the leader. Yulong mainland doesn't need these noble families who have harmed people. Yun Jian's voice, which was as beautiful as the sounds of nature, rang out and spread to every corner of the place. Hearing this, all the people who were in cahoots with the Lan family were paralyzed. It's over. Not only was the Lan family finished, all the other aristocratic families were finished as well. Yes. Lan Su, Gu Nianji, and Qing Yu acknowledged the order and nodded at Yun Jian. Yun Jian handed the task of dealing with these aristocratic families to Lan Su and the other 2. At that moment, Yun Jian turned her head slightly and looked sideways at the girl from the shaman tribe. She moved her red lips and said to her, "Which elder of the shaman tribe are you a descendant of?" Name? Most of the girls in the sorcerer tribe were descendants of the sorcerer tribe elders. I am Elder Wu Qing's granddaughter. My name is Wu Lin. The young witch girl, who was covered in wounds, bowed to Yun Jian and said, "All right, you can return to Yulong mainland now," Yun Jian said to Wu Lin. "Thank you, sorcerer goddess. I was accidentally brought to Earth. I didn't expect to be caught by them. Not only did they beat me, they even forced me to tell them the way to Yulong mainland. I didn't even tell them." Wu Lin looked up at Yun Jian and said proudly. She was proud because she did not betray the shaman tribe out of fear. She did not betray the sorcerer goddess either. After sending Wu Lin off, the ball was almost over. Yun Jian did not remove her mask halfway through. Other than Lin Xiui, Leng Yichen, and a few others, no one knew Yun Jian. At that moment, Yun Jian stood in the aisle and looked into Shen Wei's eyes. The person who harmed Shen Wei's son, Shen Shaoqing, was the Lan family's master. Shen Wei asked Yun Jian to protect his daughter, Shen Bai, because he was afraid that the Lan family would turn against his daughter. Now that the Lan family was destroyed, Yun Jian did not need to promise to protect Shen Bai's daughter for another month. Shen Wei looked into Yun Jian's eyes. He thanked her first before speaking. Chapter 1785. Of course, recovering all his memories as a supreme magus was not something that could be done within a short period of time. Shen Wei was just an ordinary person. It was already impressive that he could make such a potion. Yun Jian was not afraid that Shen Wei was lying to her. He knew Yun Jian's identity long ago. Yun Jian could tell a liar from their gaze. I'll send someone to deliver the potion to you in 2 days. It'll take about a month or 2 because I still have to make the potion. Shen Wei said. Yun Jian nodded. As long as she could recover her memories, time was not a problem. After everything was settled, Yun Jian returned to Longmen City. Originally, he had expected to stay in southern city of the Jiang province for a month. Unexpectedly, he had only stayed in southern city of the Jiang province for 3 to 4 days. After the middle of October, the weather was turning colder. People who wore thin short-sleeved shirts and shorts in summer were slowly putting on their jackets and long pants. At night, the weather turned cold and gloomy. Tonight, in particular, the temperature had dropped to the point that it was no different from winter. Phew, it's so cold. Little Strawberry, don't go back. Why do you have to go back to school? Why don't you stay with us? Qing Yu rubbed her hands by the heater and told Luo Berry. Qing Yu had an air conditioner at home, but it was broken in the past 2 days. The weather was neither too hot nor too cold and the temperature was just right, so Qing Yu was too lazy to fix it. She did not expect the temperature to drop to single digits today. The weather after the middle of October was getting colder. The temperature difference between summer and winter in Zhe province, the southernmost part of the province, was already huge. With the temperature dropping so much today, Qing Yu did not even bother to stretch her hand, let alone fix the air conditioner. Sister Jian, right? I told you to let Little Strawberry stay with us for a few more days. Why do you have to go back to school so early? Can I bring you guys to play video games, race cars, and play mahjong? Is it fun? Seeing that Luo Berry did not answer, Qing Yu turned to ask Yun Jian, who was slouching on the sofa with her arms resting on the back and her eyes closed. Yun Jian replied softly without opening her eyes. After Lang Mei was taken away by Di Lin, Qing Yu's house was finally quiet for a while. However, Lan Su came back not long after and Qing Yu's house was noisy again. However, Lan Su had been taken away by Adam ever since he returned from the southern part of the province. With that, Qing Yu and Gu Niangu were left alone in Qing Yu's house. Of course, the last sentence was just her imagination because Luo Berry had not left yet. However, Luo Berry was planning to go home today, so Qing Yu and Gu Nianji would be alone in each other's arms for the rest of the day. I think I should go home, Luo Berry said after a moment of silence. She hadn't seen Immerse in here for several days. Maybe he didn't want to see her? She was such an idiot. Last time, she was almost defiled by her cousin, and he happened to see it. Little Strawberry, why are you so stubborn? You still want to go back to school to be abused. Don't go. Stay, sister will take care of you. Qing Yu curled up into a ball from the cold, but she did not forget to ask Luo Berry to stay. It was then that the door to Qing Yu's house opened. It was Saturday today, so Yun Jian saw her own brother, Yun Yi, walking in when she looked up. Yun Yi saw Qing Yu curled up into a ball by the stove when he walked in, but he was too lazy to help her. Instead, he went back to his bedroom to grab a blanket to cover her. Yun Yi knew Qing Yu's habits after dating her for so long. Sometimes, when Qing Yu was really frozen into a ball, she was too lazy to walk back to her bedroom to grab a blanket to cover herself. Hence, Yun Yi hurried to Qing Yu's bedroom and covered her with her blanket, mumbling incessantly, "What are you talking about? Why didn't you walk back to your bedroom to get a blanket when you're so cold?" Chapter 1786. Qing Yu and her brother, Yun Yi, were living like an old married couple. Even the way they spoke was similar. Gu Nianji was already used to the way the two of them treated her. She hugged her knees and rolled her eyes. Show off to your heart's content." Luo Berry, who was sitting next to them, could not help having some weird thoughts. If she and Immerse could be as loving as Qingyu and Yuni one day, no. What was she thinking? He was Immerse, one of the 4 leaders of an Hun group. They were not on the same side. She was not worthy of him at all. She had to erase such thoughts. Moreover, Luo Berry was planning to leave today. She was leaving Immerse's world completely. She had never loved before. It was her first time falling in love with a boy. Luo Berry thought that as long as she left Immerse's world completely and could never see him again, she would not think about him anymore. Both Gu Nianji and Luo Mei had their own thoughts as they watched Qingyu and Yun Yi being lovey-dovey. Yun Jian, on the other hand, was used to it. With a small smile, she picked up the TV remote control in front of her and turned it on. As soon as the TV was turned on, the volume was turned up. A loud voice came through as soon as the TV was turned on. "Grandpa, Grandpa. Grandpa. We must save Grandpa." The voice of the super-large anime, Calabash Brothers, rang out. Yun Jian coughed dryly when she heard that. It was obviously the video that Qingyu was playing. It popped out as soon as the TV was turned on. Yun Jian changed the channel and watched the TV with her arms crossed in front of her chest. Luo Berry was waiting for her family's car to pick her up. Yun Jian did not ask her to stay. Qingyu was still puzzled. She did not know that Yun Jian had sent a message to someone the moment Luo Berry decided to leave and never come back. If Qingyu knew that Yun Jian had done that, she would probably jump up and give Yun Jian 2 thumbs up and exclaim, "You're the best." About 15 minutes later. Honk honk honk. Below Qingyu's suite, there was the sound of car horns honking. There were very few cars in this era. Hence, she knew that the Lowbury family had sent someone to pick her up. "I have to go. Yun Jian, come to our house next time. Qingyu, Gu Nianji, brother Yun Jian, all of you must come together." Luo Berry was absent-minded, so she did not feel the cold of the night. She stood up and bowed to Yun Jian and the others with a heavy heart, then walked out of the door. "Hey, wait. Let us send you off if you want to leave." Qingyu, who was too cold to move earlier, stood up to leave. "It's okay, it's a little cold outside. See you next time." Luo Berry waved at them and ran out. When Luo Berry was almost downstairs, Yun Jian suddenly led the way to the corridor of the suite and looked down at Luo Berry. Before they walked to the corridor, Yun Jian said something sinister to Qingyu and the rest. "Come out and watch the show." As she spoke, she picked up an apple from the coffee table and munched on it while admiring what was happening downstairs. Qingyu, Gu Nianji, and Yuni were confused, but they followed her out anyway. Just as Luo Berry opened the car door downstairs and was about to enter, a long hand grabbed her. Luo Berry was shocked. When she turned around and saw Immerse, who appeared out of nowhere, she almost fell to the ground. In the end, it was Immerse who grabbed her waist and pulled her into his embrace. When Luo Berry realized what was happening, she quickly squirmed out of his embrace. "You're leaving?" Immerse asked softly. Luo Berry lowered her head, not daring to look at him. She was afraid that she would be reluctant to leave if she looked at him. What confused Luo Berry was that she did not even tell him that she was leaving. How did he know? "I'll leave first then. You're welcome to come to my house with Yun Jian and the rest next time," Luo Berry said to Immerse as she waved goodbye to Yun Jian and the rest. She tried her best to make it look like she was saying goodbye to a normal person. Luo Berry was about to turn around and get into the car when Immerse suddenly grabbed her and dragged her to Qingyu's house without any explanation. He even found a very lame excuse to stop her from leaving. Chapter 1787. Luo Berry's heart skipped a beat, unable to react for a long time. Was the weather very cold these few days? The weather forecast said that tonight was the only night that was exceptionally cold. After today, it would be sunny for a long time. The weather forecast also said that the temperature difference in the past few days was rather large. Today was exceptionally cold and the temperature would soar from tomorrow onwards. She had to be careful to prevent heatstroke when she went out during the day. Standing by the corridor upstairs, Yun Jian munched on her apple, enjoying the view as she watched what was happening downstairs. Qing Yu, Yun Yi, and Gu Nianji's lips twitched as they almost spat out. So, you're such a person. They saw Immerse grabbing Luo Berry's hand and taking 2 steps toward the staircase before turning to the car that came to fetch Luo Berry home. He said something to the driver. Yun Jian and the rest then saw the car driver start the engine and leave after hearing what Immerse said. Not long after, Immerse pulled Luo Berry into Qing Yu's house. Yun Jian and the rest had already returned to Qing Yu's house. Yun Jian sat on the sofa and watched Luo Berry being pulled back by Immerse Senator. She smiled and said to Luo Berry, "Welcome back." Luo Berry was still unaware of the situation. She was stunned before replying to Yun Jian. Luo Berry turned to look at Immerse, satisfaction written all over her face. Although she did not know what was going on, did Immerse ask her to stay? He really did ask her to stay. While Luo Berry's thoughts were still running wild, Yun Jian had already looked down at her watch and got up to leave. Before she left, she turned to the rest and said, "I'll leave first. My friend is discharged. I'll go fetch her." With that, she strode out of Qing Yu's house. Yun Jian did not know what happened to Qing Yu's house after that. She was on her way to Longmen City People's Hospital. Since she came back early, she could bring forward the matter of retrieving her mentor's letter that was delayed last time. However, Lan Su had been taken away by Adam recently. He said that he was going to bring Lan Su out for 2 days, so this matter was not urgent. The envelope would not run away either. Today was the day Chen Sini was discharged from the hospital after her accident. Although Chen Sini's brain had been closed, she could no longer do strenuous exercise like running for the rest of her life. This was the after effect. Today was the day that Chen Sini would be discharged from the hospital. She would be discharged at night. It was 7:00 in the evening. When Yun Jian arrived at Longmen City People's Hospital, Zhang Xiaofeng and Ling Yichen were already standing at the entrance. Seeing Yun Jian, Zhang Xiaofeng called Yun Jian, "Master. Has Sini been discharged?" Yun Jian nodded and asked. "She's in the car over there. Uncle is handling the discharge procedures for Sini. Sini asked us to wait for you here." Zhang Xiaofeng and Ling Yichen smiled as they led Yun Jian to the car Chen Sini was in. Jian. When Chen Sini saw Yun Jian, she almost jumped out of the car and pounced on Yun Jian, but Zhang Xiaofeng held her down and prevented Chen Sini from doing so. "Don't move. You've just been discharged," Zhang Xiaofeng told Chen Sini as he stood beside Chen Sini. "Okay." Chen Sini stuck her tongue out at Zhang Xiaofeng and told Yun Jian, "Jian, my dad's sending me to my grandpa's house to rest for a few days tomorrow. Do you want to come with me for 2 days?" Yun Jian had not been going to school recently, so Chen Sini had invited her. It was Chen Sini who looked at her with anticipation. Yun Jian smiled and nodded. "Sure. Master, I can go back to school in peace with you accompanying her. I've fallen behind in my homework these few days. It's so frustrating. Chen Sini, you have to compensate me when you're better." Zhang Xiaofeng told Yun Jian when he saw that Chen Sini was recovering well these few days. He then turned to Chen Sini and began to bicker with Chen Sini like he used to. "Got it. Idiot." Chen Sini stuck her tongue out at Zhang Xiaofeng and made a face. Chapter 1788. Jian, I need to pack my things tomorrow. We can only leave for my grandpa's house at 5 in the afternoon tomorrow. My chauffeur will send us there. You can come to my house to look for me then. After joking with Zhang Xiaofeng, Chen Sini turned to stick her tongue out at Yun Jian. Yun Jian nodded. Chen Sini's father arrived after a while. It was Yun Jian who had saved Chen Sini. Chen Sini's father thanked Yun Jian and invited Yun Jian to his house to play for a while and have dinner. Yun Jian rejected both offers. After sending Chen Sini off, Yun Jian went home first. Qin Yiru must be at home now. Gu Junjian would be home for the next few days, so Qin Yiru had already set up dinner early. Just as she reached home, Yun Jian's sensitive ears picked up a few gossipy murmurs beside her when she passed by a corner. It was not unusual for these gossipy women to gather at the intersection and murmur, but what caught Yun Jian's attention was that the person they were murmuring about was Qin Yiru. Yun Jian raised a brow and leaned against the corner of the wall without showing herself, listening to the gossipy women's murmurs from the dark. Hey, do you guys know Gu Junjian from our neighborhood? Didn't he marry a wife called Qin Yiru not long ago? Of course. When they got married, it caused a stir in Longmen City, no, the entire Zhe province. I heard that the red carpet was laid from the bride's house to the groom's house. I've talked to this Qin Yiru you guys are talking about. She's quite a nice person. What they said was just the gossipy women's murmurs. What came next was the main event. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes at that. Then, the gossipy women suddenly huddled together as if they were afraid that someone would overhear them. Their words spread like wildfire. Yun Jian's hearing was good, so she heard everything clearly. Gu Junjian is such a righteous man. He's usually very loving with his wife, Qin Yiru, but his mistress is indecent. Did you guys know that a woman came to Gu Junjian 2 days ago, saying that she was his university classmate? Now that she's divorced her husband, she's purely looking for Gu Junjian to catch up. As a woman, how can I not know what that woman is thinking? She was just thinking that Gu Junjian was rich now. Oh, he was rich, so she wanted to seduce him. You even pretended to be close to Qin Yiru and came here every day to freeload. What kind of woman to be a good woman to her to eat to? Qin Yiru of that family was kind and did not know what that woman was thinking. She's trying to seduce her husband. If this Gu Junjian was someone else, he would have probably gotten together with that woman right in front of her face. Luckily, Gu Junjian is a soldier and is an upright man. He's not seduced by that woman. But no one knows what a man is thinking. Who knows, maybe one day Gu Junjian will be seduced by that vixen. To be honest, if it were me, I would throw that woman out with a sweep of my hand. If she dares to appear in front of my man, I'll poke her *s. All these words came from the same gossipy woman. In the end, even the gossipy woman couldn't help but swear. Hidden in the dark, Yun Jian's eyes glinted sharply. She hadn't been home for a few days, so she didn't know what was going on at home. Sometimes, the gossipy woman's words weren't just gossip. After getting the gist of the situation, Yun Jian went home. The moment she opened the door, she was greeted by an unfamiliar woman instead of Qin Yiru. This woman had big breasts and a big butt, but she had a good figure. Although she was in her 40s and looked much uglier than Qin Yiru, she was younger than Qin Yiru. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.